Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Dion podcast. My name is Brendan.
Oh, and I'm Commander Wolf. I don't like that name.
He doesn't like that at all. But this is today going to be the Dion podcast. Not even going to sugarcoat or pretend like we're doing something different until after the news, because there's probably no news.
No news segment.
Yeah,
no.
Thanks, Wolf. So we're not doing that. So it's going to be a big episode. You already can tell by the title that there's going to be a lot of people having a lot to say. So we don't want to waste a lot of time, believe it or not. But we have a couple things to talk about real quick. Number one, I'm going to hit 2 minutes on the end of this Marble League. We're going to do that next week. We're going to do a whole little episode. Maybe we'll like bring Akanon on and yell at each other for a while. But we're going to do that next week and cover all what we thought about the last event and the new hosts of next year, which I did not expect. But I loved the last event. I screeched at my phone for the last event because the thought of the Pinkies winning and the Bumblebees and the Cat's Eyes, and they were all battling together, and the Savage Speeders like absolutely throwing, like I was just freaking out. I actually thought the Pinkies were going to win. I was really excited. But nevertheless, all the teams that I picked for my A-Star, because I just picked the 5 teams that still had a chance for first, most of them got top 3 and then like top 6. So I actually did really well in A-Star. I think I actually finished on podium overall for that fantasy. So that's a little update there. That's really freaking cool. Honestly, Cat's Eyes, one of my favorite teams too. So for them to win, huge W. That is one of the best endings of a Marble League in a while for me. So, well, if anything from you, I don't want to waste too much time though.
Yeah, I just want to kind of have one positive thing. Brendan, I think 2 episodes ago, you brought up Lisa being a longtime fan. She did respond, and she has said that she has seen every episode, but she didn't discover the show until February of this year. So you do know what that means, right? Like, she went through the entire backlog of 163 episodes in the span of under a year. Like, you have to really love our podcast to actually do that, especially like a lot of the information isn't relevant anymore that we talk about in those episodes. So you have to really enjoy this dynamic we have here. So thank you, Lisa, for being such a dedicated fan.
Lisa, we love you, really do. That's so crazy. That's wild. I can't even imagine that. She knows more about the show than we do. She
probably actually, yeah.
Remember when Super Yak would do trivia and he'd do like a few trivia questions about the show instead of like Marble stuff? She would She would win that. Oh my God. Mm-hmm. I hope you enjoyed. I hope whatever it is that tracks you to this show is really doing it for you. So, but you know what we need to do, Waf? We need to focus. We need to focus on today's show because we have such serious information. And if you have trouble focusing, Waf, then you should listen about the sponsor of this podcast, Magic Mind. You know, I've talked about it before, Waf. Like, remember the previous episodes where I talked about it at the beginning?
I do.
Yeah, that's when I was talking about it. I'm talking about it today.
Really?
I struggle to focus, believe it or not. I have difficulty in that area, and so sometimes I need something to kind of wake me up and keep me focused, but I don't want anything jittery. I don't want that normal caffeine, because caffeine either don't work on me at all, or it just makes me all jittery. I had like 2 coffees yesterday. My friend was having like a come over and I'm going to make coffee for everybody thing, and he makes like really good coffee. And so, I had like 3 different types of coffee, and I was like, ugh, for like the rest of the day. It was really bad. So I don't want too much caffeine, but I want to focus. And so that's why I mess with Magic Mind. I really recommend them. It's improved my focus so much without all of that jittery extra feeling. And I don't think it gives me the same kind of anxiety, and it keeps my memory. And then also, ingredients-wise, I got to call out some of these ingredients. I can't pronounce half of this, Waf, but I'll tell you what, they're awesome. There's like lion's mane mushrooms in there, apparently the fluffiest mushroom out there. They're a nootropic and an adaptogen. They reduce anxiety, reduce inflammation. They support cognition. And then you also have like ashwagandha, used medicinally since 6000 BC, about 8,000 years ago. It's an adaptogen that reduces stress and anxiety, just all these great ingredients. And it's also all natural too, no sugar and nuts and vegan. It's all vegan and everything. So it's so healthy for you. And then we have a discount code. So if you go to magicmind.com/MSWpod20, you're going to get some % off of your first subscription or your first purchase, 20% off your first one-time purchase, up to 56% off your first subscription. So I recommend you go to magicmind.com/MSWpod20. That is what, Waf?
MSW Pod /20, not slash 20, just MSW Pod 20. I have no experience doing things like this at all.
That's okay, but now you really got to think about it while he messed up. MSW Pod 20. A lot of other people have been talking about it that are way more famous in the podcasting world and in the celebrity world than we are, because we're just a Marvel podcast. But so it's really been getting around there. Go check it out, and that'll be all for that. So I think it's time to move on to the serious part of today's episode. I'm going to turn things over to Waff to kind of preface it. We're going to be talking about, just straight up, bluntly honest, why Dion's got to go.
Yeah, and I guess as a heads up to everybody listening, this is not going to be one of our lighthearted episodes. This is going to be a very serious one. Slight trigger warning for people. There's going to be subject matter of emotional familial abuse. So if that's not your cup of tea, I would dip from this episode. I'm going to do my best to always, like it's important to remember that Dion is still a human being. They are not like some evil monster. And so I'm always going to try and see things from their perspective to make this as fair as we can. But there's some tough stuff that we are going to be discussing here today. And we got some special guests. I actually mixed it up on the announcement. It's Folk who had to send in a pre-recorded message, and Nova who will be joining us for a brief segment here. But on top of that, of course, we have Stynth here, a good friend of mine, and honestly, just one of the greatest people I've ever met. So Stynth, would you like to say hello?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
It's always great to see you, man. And you've been a massive help. Like you did, like, unlike the last one, you really did like pretty much all the research for this one because you've had the receipts.
Yeah, I experienced much of what happened firsthand. Now, I'm not a member of Yella's family or Dion's family, right? But I used to work behind the scenes with JMR as a member of the former JMR committee, which ran from February of 2019 to April of 2021. And I also worked as a freelancer with the channel for about a year after that. So I've seen a lot of things, as has Nova. Nova was also a member of the JMR committee and then graphics editor until the end of Marble League 2021. So we both come from positions of experience, and at the same time, as much as objective evidence we are providing of Facebook conversations, Discord chats, social media, Reddit comments, all of that, I think it's important to put a disclaimer out there that we can't claim to be entirely objective given just the our position in the community. At the same time, we're also in the best position. We never signed, or at least I never signed, an NDA when working with JMR, so I'm not held or bound legally to the extent that I could not be sharing this information with you all right now. And so much has happened in the community that it is time. It has honestly been long past time to talk about Dion's history of lies, abuse, and mismanagement. But the purposes of this episode, as I've outlined in an outline, and there's also a Google folder of public evidence, which we'll be putting out when the episode is published. Also a transcription of the episode that will go out when it's published.
Yes.
Yeah. For all of those readers, podcasts aren't for everyone.
That is true.
The purposes of this episode are to reveal Dion Baker's manipulation and abuse of power towards fellow staff members and the JMR fan community, and to empower the JMR fan community to be stronger than Dion's negativity as we uplift other staff members and community creators.
Yes, and Brendan, I would definitely get that evidence folder like ready to go to stop popping it up on screen as we talk about it. It's kind of order.
So I'm gonna have the outline up here because I'm assuming we're following that, and then we're gonna jump over to the folders for like all other little evidences. So that's what I'll just bounce back and forth and kind of go along with you guys on this. Remember, in just like last episode, I know a good amount about this stuff, but Waff and Stynth are much more. They laid this out much more. They have much more detail in their heads about this. So, in some degree, I'm like, yeah, I already got all this. And then in some degree, I am like kind of reacting to some of the new details along with you guys. So that will be kind of a slightly different perspective. And then again, we'll have a couple other people on to talk during the show. So let's get into it. I mean, let's just start. The first thing on my outline is who is Dion. So let's just pop right in there, get through that quickly, and start going into some of these controversies.
All right, so I guess for anyone who is either just new to the community or just don't know anything about anything going on here, Dion is Yella Baker's brother. In the past, Dion worked on and off with Yella on projects like Marble League 2018 and Marble Rally filming. In 2020, Dion claimed to have founded Yella's Marble Runs as a business, with both Yella and himself as the creators and owners and creators of the YouTube channel. Former staff can attest that Dion's behind-the-scenes role with JMR expanded towards the end of Marbula 1 Season 1. Although Dion started as an advisor to Yella and a helping hand with filming, Dion's responsibilities working with JMR increased greatly as the channel gained popularity. He claims to be the co-founder of Yella's Marble Runs and to have invented two of its staple series, the Marble League, formerly known as the Marble Olympics, and Marbula 1. We've talked about this in the past. He has access to channel operations on YouTube and finances, and he claims to pay the rent and also insurance costs for the company. He manages social media accounts and outreach to sponsors, and is directly involved in working working with volunteers such as the former JMRC and the current Yella's Marble Association.
If I could provide some additional context, Dion claimed to have founded JMR as a business on, we saw on Wikipedia. If you go to JMR's Wikipedia page, they have that information. Like, I could just read that to you right now. In 2020, Yella's brother Dion founded Yella's Marble Runs as a business, with both Yella's Marble Runs and Dion Media as owners and creators of the YouTube channel. Dion Media started a web shop and founded a Patreon page. Dion also founded a new concept of marble races, the Marbula 1, which is a mock version of the Formula 1. And I can link that to the doc as well. I didn't do it immediately.
It's all right, and we confirmed who made that edit. Like on Wikipedia, if you don't have an account when you make an edit, it has to log something, so it logs your IP address. So
someone in the Netherlands,
someone in the Netherlands, and based on the broken English, it's pretty obvious who made that edit because it only came out like much later on in the article's history, and it's very broken English compared to like the quality English of the rest of the article.
We'll go into this because you are going to see more text evidence of Dion like posting things. So you'll start to see some patterns between like how he spells and uses grammar or misuses grammar. European English is very different than American English, granted, but all of the context links throughout the evidence we've amassed.
Yes. Ongoing JMR controversies. We've talked about these in other episodes, like several episodes over the course of the past month, it seems, which is insane that's happened. So just a brief overview, like there's been a clear pattern between Dion's mismanagement and JMR's social media blunders. In March 2021, the JMR Twitter bio stated that the account was run by Dion. That same month, Dion claimed that Marble Racing was founded by JMR. I guess like to give Dion some of a break here, Dion did not claim ownership of the Twitter. That was an anonymous individual who changed it themselves to let people know that Dion was the one making the tweets and not Yella.
So someone working with the staff. So it's not an inspect element thing, but a different member of the staff changed the bio to label that the account was being run by Dion, which that information is true. So if you go to the March 3rd, 2021 tweet, 2021-302. It's the one after that. Yeah, so if you click that, There's the tweet. Reads, Marble 1 is founded by JMR to name the concept. Marble racing in general is founded by us. And if you go to the next picture, it shows that the JMR account was run by Dion. And not all Specs clarifies, Specs, who is a former JMRC member, clarifies that not all views posted by the Twitter are that of the whole JMR staff or JMR committee. Then we have the Hazers tweet. So Dion's idea of a funny post to hype a race hosted by the Hazers, a very popular team made of shiny fiberglass marbles, was to say that the race starts with a ritual from which the word stoned came from. And so that's the tweet, or the series of 2 tweets that were posted. If you go to the picture all the way on the far left now, you can see that Foucaulf, who is joining us for a message like at the end of the show, or pre-recorded that message. Foucaulf was creating graphics for Marbella 1 Season 2 and did not want his name associated with a channel making those comments about the Hazers getting stoned. So if you guys want to read this out, feel free.
Yeah, it's very small for my screen. I'll
do the reading. So he says, I noticed these tweets on the official Twitter. Gels Marbles made it trying to link the Hazers, to marijuana use. I do not want my name associated with the channel making these comments. I've supported Gel with graphics production for M1S2, despite no one in the company notifying me about compensation. Please delete the tweets. By process of elimination, it must be Dion, or I will not make the leaderboards and graphics for the Misty Mountains race. Ooh.
And Dion responded below.
Yeah, he said, this is not true. There was one person who said this. It is the same person who criticized more of my tweets. And then Foucaulf says, Dion, both of you are adults. We know that's implied by the words, and it's important to think how they're interpreted by others. I wanted to flag this without arguing about details. It has nothing to do with weed. It's reference to Stonehenge. It's overreacted, and I sent person a tweet with explanation.
Next picture.
All right, and then it goes, the reference with drugs is not from us. We even turn it the other way, so it's quite stupid to put it on the negative position, in my opinion. I'm not sure what you called falling into a trance and stone would qualify as, if not drug references, and those both came from you. Trance is a state of mind, like the Hazers obey the stone. Procession like Stonehenge, it's fantasy, creativity.
Next picture.
Emoji. True, it is the, Dion says, it is the reason why a lot of people buy the merchandise. They smoke weed. They're for a lot of the Hazers. Is that why a lot of people buy Hazers merchandise? I mean,
no.
I mean, it could be true. I mean, like if you
for some people maybe, but I would say the majority no. But like, what I love here is like he is openly admitting that it actually was a reference to smoking.
I picked up on that too. Though I mean, like Hazers kind of sound very, Anyway, and vice versa. I hate weed myself, of course, but I can understand their adoration for the name. Dion Baker says, I deleted the tweet to prevent further misinterpretations. Dion, in my experience, most Hazers fans love the team because they shine and perform well in events. Really? When was the last time I did that? How does your theory explain why... I know these messages are outdated. Hazers kind of suck now, though. How does your theory explain why the Chinese fans are mostly Hazers fans, even though marijuana is illegal in China and comes with jail time?
Next picture.
I will say marijuana being illegal never really stopped anybody, but he makes a good point. Dion, in my experience, most Hazers fans love the team.
So that's the first paragraph. That's the same first paragraph, but the bottom.
I got it. I realized that a few words in. My opinion is formed by the fans in the Netherlands. Weed is quite normal. You can buy it everywhere. We have a lot of fans of the Hazers in Holland. I talked to 100 of the Hazer fans through the years, mostly Americans. I think it's the other way around. Not many Chinese fans watch our YouTube channel because YouTube is illegal in China. Some of them watch Bilibili since last year. 2018, no one knew us or watched our channel when we were in Beijing, but the fact that they are doing well matters, I agree. But my image came from all the people that I spoke to internationally. A lot of the smokers from all over the world are about their adoration for the Hazers. It's simple. Haze is one of the most sold weed in the world. Is that really a good strain? Nevertheless, I've never made specific advertisements for drugs or cannabis. As I said before, I don't like it, can't cope with it, and don't like people who are stoned. Now we have said enough about it. Have to work now.
And if you wouldn't mind just clicking out of the picture and scrolling up, you can see 2020 December 15th, Dion responded to a fan with that.
Yeah, this one.
Implying that
gosh.
someone who's stoned must be a Hazers fan. If you click out of this and you go to the first two pictures in the top left, March 23rd, 2019, Dion said this. It's even signed with his name.
Oh, yeah.
Said this about the Pimlore's Hazers logo, which was originally purple and then became gray.
And the next one's like, purple haze. I like that a lot. Oh, that's from someone else. But then, like, it's a good one. Someone who understands purple haze is weed. It's like, okay, Dion. Okay.
Clear about the whole thing.
So
I will say, a bunch of Hazers fans that are all smokers gathering around that for that reason by itself is totally 100% wonderful. The channel acknowledging that is not really helpful. You know what I mean? Like, if that's gonna happen, just let it do its thing. Just let that be like a community thing that happens. But I think like putting it on the main page when you know there's all these other fans that maybe don't want to hear about that, like that's not necessarily the best choice for the main channel Twitter account. But it is kind of funny and it's chill if it's just happening in its own place in the community. Do you see the difference? Do you see the distinction?
No, I see what you're saying.
Yep.
Right, because like I might become a Hazers fan, but after the show, but like I don't think that it's useful to put it on the front page of the channel.
So to just explain what the rest of these comments are. Most of them are just other examples of Dion's social media misuse. Go to the one on the top right corner. That's from April 2020. They tweeted that. Dion tweeted that.
That word's out. Bro, what is going on?
Mm-hmm. And like, yeah,
for
you'll
the
see
people
other
who are just
like
listening to audio, just so we can hear it out loud. Dion says, "Be careful what." Oh, I guess tagging New York Times and Gez Wolfcrest. I guess they're like newspapers. Be careful what you say there. Fans will lynch you. They take it very serious, and there are millions of them.
like one lynching. That's a very strong word. But also like, why is Yellow's Marble Runs tweeting at news sites? What? Huh? Like, that's not what this Twitter is for. That's not what it's supposed.
It is a strong word with racially insensitive connotations, and it's disgusting. JMR would tweet something like this, and this was in April 2020. I still worked with the channel for another year or two, actually. These problems have been going on for a very, very long time. There's another document in this folder. This was a JMRC document that we made just kind of to outline the issues that we saw with Dion's use of social media. And February 2020, even further back. So the problems we saw were a lack of professionalism by Dion, a lack of agreement about the purpose of the official JMR social media, what are its objectives and how does the JMRC fit into that picture, an unsteerable ship, what happens when something big results from Dion's actions, no coordination on topical issues, what is the policy official line regarding Fubica, and a cause for a JMRC flare-up. What happens when Dion learns of the deletions? And there's another page, but to say that we hadn't seen these issues and we didn't believe that Dion was using social media correctly, that is something that went away. There's also a Twitter, a spreadsheet. It's the one all the way to the right. Down. There you go. This spreadsheet we made when we decided to go on strike towards the end of the committee. And it shows just a bunch of links, all of which should still be active, of Dion's unprofessionalism. We don't need to go through all of this. We'll hit the divorce tweet later, too. And then there's another tab saying outside of Twitter. which shows separate issues that we noticed. And, well, you can go through those on your own time, too. What's notable here is that this is Dion picking fights with Fubuka's marble runs on YouTube. And that caused a lot of controversy, which I'm sure, Brendan, you're very familiar with.
Yeah, I think the Fubuka thing was funny. I think I actually can make a good case that Fubuka actually didn't even steal the idea. I think I told Stynth about this last time I saw him. I mean, it's still possible. I just don't think it's actually that likely. But it's funny. He's like, you don't have Greg Woods. You don't even have your own ideas. He's like literally doing some like trash talk. It's wild. It's hard to like. I don't know. There's kind of like. I mean, it's not to this degree, but it's just it's in the size where it's like it's kind of like if the channel Dude Perfect just started like making all these types of posts. You know what I'm saying? Like the channel like that's just totally making professional videos, productions. They're doing their thing, and that's what they do. And like people know them and love them. And then if they started talking about lynching and like trash talking other channels that aren't as good as them, like I mean, it's just kind of stupid. Like it just doesn't make sense. So
it's unethical, unprofessional.
Yeah.
And we could go on. The outline. Sorry.
No, it's like I was literally just gonna say what you're about to say. Like, yeah, like there is an extensive amount of evidence of like his misuse in that folder, but we don't need to go over every single one.
Yeah, the folder.
You kind of see the trend. He uses strong language and things that you really that are not family friendly for a family friendly channel. So, if you want to see it, you can go there. It's like the links will be just provided in the description for this episode. As well as on our server. We're going to try and make sure everyone can find this information to see it for themselves.
So let's move on to the next topic. So we get the idea. He's not great on social media. He's not doing a good job. So this is kind of the beginning of really noticing that he's not, at least in what he does, he's not necessarily the best choice for working in the channel. He's not helping the channel. So then I guess to the next part.
This behavior continued after the JMRC's dissolution, with random posts causing frustration among community members when they all wanted to just get excited about upcoming marble sports events. The Marble Rally notably received very little promotion compared to the series Dion claimed to have invented, Marble League and Marbula 1. And that's a big history of his. He just does not seem to care at all about Marble Rally.
He doesn't even take credit for it.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. That's like one of the few things he doesn't claim credit for. He also used social media to prematurely announce or leak major news as well as post inappropriate content. And to kind of go through this, much to the JMA surprise, the JMR Twitter leaked the teams competed in Marbula 1 Season 3 in March of 2022. Also to the JMA surprise, the JMR Twitter leaked the marble designs of the expansion teams coming to Marble League 2022, 2 months before the start of the tournament. On January 16th, 2023, Dion made an Instagram post accidentally posting a picture of his child using the toilet and then berated a fan who criticized the post. And then there was a tweet on August 9th, 2023 that implied that Dion's marble was taking a bath with some nice marble ladies.
W Riz though. Sorry.
It's
sorry.
I do appreciate you trying to I do appreciate the humor. It does try and keep this situation light, but that
can't be there. That kind of one is like the same along the same line of the weed stuff. It can't be on the JMR main page. It can't be there. It doesn't mean it can't be funny in some circumstance, like the BGBD podcast or something like that. Sorry to put them in that, but they can't be there. It just cannot be there.
But yet Dion also posed about needing sponsors for upcoming tournaments in anticipation of ML 2023. Dion had done this as recently as July 4th, 2023. They were really heavily pushing for sponsorships, as if it was necessary for the channel to make content, even though they had done so without sponsors before.
Yeah. Oh boy.
It's just one of those things he always pushed for. And that's not inherently a bad thing. It's just that he would say things like, that like if we don't get a sponsor, then Marble Leaf's just not going to happen. And it's like, that's a bit over dramatic.
It is a bit over dramatic, and it's not entirely true. But this is also how on Twitter they were able to get John Oliver's attention. So it did work once, and worked really well once.
If everything else he did was wonderful and there was just that, then we probably wouldn't mention that. Let's be honest. So it's just kind of all together, I guess. Are we in the targeted harassment of fans section? That's where I'm in my
Yes,
outline.
we are. And if you could pull up that.
Oh, yeah. So Dion also has a reputation for harassing hardcore fans who not only regularly engage, but also provide constructive feedback to JMR. First example here, it would be August 13th, 2021.
April.
April, my bad. I mix up my month days sometimes.
Okay.
So April 13th, 2021, Dion claimed that the former JMRC would continue after its unanimous dissolution, then berated fans who said otherwise. He also removed former JMR committee members as moderators from the JMR fan Facebook group when they posted the committee dissolution statement.
Brendan, these are all like the first 4 screenshots in the folder. Yeah. Yeah. Next one.
Okay. There was May 11th, 2020. Or do you mean him going to the next image?
Yeah, next image.
Yeah.
Next image.
This is basically, for anyone audio, this is basically just images on the removal from the JMRC stuff and how that's going. So nothing.
Yeah, and like if we read every single one, we would be here for hours. So we are gonna try and keep this as quick and succinct as we can, but while still being detailed.
Yeah. May 11th, 2022. This is almost a full year later. To preface this, I was a subreddit moderator and now still am at the time. But I thought it would be a good idea to post some discussion threads and just amass fan feedback so JMR could see it. So I made one just asking like, oh, what's up with JMR's schedule for 2022? Compile your thoughts and constructive feedback. And I tagged JMR, I tagged Yella, Dion, and Minos. And this is the next picture, Brendan. The one you're looking at right now, actually. But also the next one. Dion responded saying, don't tag us again unless it's positive. Thank you. And then fans started responding. I guess I was like not checking Discord when this happened. And when it came to my attention that all of this had happened, I was just like, oh my God. It was overwhelming.
It says we just don't care about Stynth and his attitude.
In the next picture,
I'm sorry, Stynth. It's so dumb. The only response I have is laughing. It's nothing.
No, I understand.
It's just such a dumb comment. We care about fans. We just don't care about Stynth and it's like I don't know. I sometimes just can't handle with this guy. Anyway,
the next picture. Nordique is who's listening to the show with us, responded, and Dion just straight up told him, you don't give a shit. Real fans are useful. Fortunately, we have them and we love them. They come with creative ideas, new names, and so on, not searching for ongoing negative exposure.
And of course, there's Waft down there at the bottom starting his comment with "Jeez Louise" spelled out.
Oh, I
I just don't understand how you can say this to your fans and
awful.
Expect to I still have no words about it, and it was so long ago.
I guess I'm trying to understand maybe what his thought process is here. Is like focusing too much on negativity can be a bad thing, especially if you're only just pointing things out without actually providing feedback or how to improve. But at least from my experience, all the posts do usually exactly that. Like they provide constructive feedback. It's not just solely wholly negative. And at least on the show, we always try to make sure whenever we criticize something, we would give feedback like, hey, here's what you could do to make it better, or you could do this differently. We never. I always tried to make sure I wasn't just like, man, that sucks, and then that's it.
All right. Well.
And that was the point of the thread. The point of the thread was to compile constructive feedback. It wasn't to shit on Dion or any member of the community. And that was what happened. Really unfortunate. And then Brendan posted like just a rant about Dion. Now again, I'm a subreddit mod.
This is not me, so I don't know. Like, this is me, but I can't believe I posted this.
Really?
I have no idea. I don't like this. I don't remember the post. The user report. It's targeted harassment at me.
So I'm a subreddit moderator, and I can see user reports and deleted comments, which is why I'm able to like log all of these that have like removal reasons next to them. But yeah, so Dion commented or he reported that, and then in the next screenshot, I'll just read the important line. It is wrong and illegal to keep harassing somebody personally on internet. I also report this and leave this to our media lawyer because I'm sure this is not allowed.
I never got contacted, by the way.
Yeah, no, you did. That's every time I hear about that, I laugh. It's so funny that he threatened legal action against you. I always forget that happened, and it's so funny every time I hear it. It's serious, but like it's just so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous.
The threat is fucking unbelievable. Against a fan who's just trying to like post in the best interest of the channel. There's nothing crazy that Brendan said in that post.
W post low key.
There are other things here, like in this outline, but I mean, you see this like it everywhere in the community, and it's very sad that like some of us here have personally experienced harassment from Dion, and I'm not gonna sit here and just let him walk all over me.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah. I know I bring a lot to this community, and I wouldn't be able to bring what I bring to this community without all of you lovely people. Amazing fans.
Aww.
And I wish Dion would see us amazing fans for who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just for some context for people continuing to listen, a lot of the criticisms in this 2021-2022 era, and we remember this is a lot of what we talked about in '94 and other times when we've kind of talked about how the channel can be better, were criticisms regarding different things around how the channel needs to be more connected with the people that are watching it, and how easy it is, by the way, to do that, and how they're just not doing that. And just different criticisms like that. Basically, because Dion is the one who's kind of making all those choices that kind of isolated the channel from its viewers. Ended up being a lot pointed at him, but it was like, we're seeing the channel, we're seeing so much more potential for growth and community engagement and the whole thing, but you're like obviously blocking that. We don't think that makes any sense. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It didn't, but like, that's why, it was kind of on him, so he didn't like it, so he just kept getting upset about it. But that was most of the criticism at the time. It was back in that, hey, we don't know how bad everybody is yet, but we think the channel can do some better stuff.
Yeah. To try to we gotta get moving on because we're almost at the halfway point. But once we get to the later stuff, we're gonna take our time on it.
Keep plowing through.
Yeah. So when a fan posted a thread about asking about Team Plasma returning to the Marble League, Dion rebuked the fan for spreading useless negativity and for being hypocritical. Okay. Sure, Dion. And then Dion was banned from the Marble Earth Discord in August 2023 because of his previous actions against the community, while falsely claiming he was blocked from accessing Marble Earth lore, which is free to read at projectmarbleearth.wordpress.com. Dion cast blame on the quote-unquote salty person who runs Marble Earth, a.k.a. Stynth.
There are actually two other admins of Project Marble Earth besides me. Both Edu and Phoenix, so I don't know who Dion is most likely referring to me, right? But I also take offense that he called out Edu and Phoenix. Not to mention, there are other editorial board members who, like Ghost and Pippin and Ramen and Toffee and Stewart, that they also moderate Marble Earth. And I take offense on behalf of the project that he just said that. And just, there's no accountability for anything he's done in the community. To the point, like, you can't understand why you're banned from a safe space, a Discord that's intended to be a safe space, when all of the previous actions that we've seen from Dion have proven to be unsafe for fans.
Yeah, and that brings us quite nicely into this segment titled Lack of Accountability. There's so much I'm going to try and blaze. If there's a specific thing you want us to stop on, Stynth, definitely let me know, but I'm going to try and blaze through as much as I can. So, Dion Baker directed an extreme marble sports tournament called Marble Maniacs that spanned 5 events from December 2021 to February 2022. On December 27th, 2020, Dion posted a tweet announcing the new series with no context and without the knowledge of the former JMRC. Yell later clarified that it was a plan to compete with the Marble Mania TV series and that the series had been canceled. But on
Sorry.
But on January 21st, 2021, Marble Mania, a TV show by John de Mol featuring marble racing, was released on Dutch TV. JMR was originally involved in production, but the TV show premiered in the Netherlands with disputes over proper credit for the concept. In the immediate aftermath, fans accused Talpa, which is JDM, John de Mol's company, of stealing the concept from JMR. Both parties reached a legal agreement in November of 2021, allowing JMR to be credited for the Marble Mania TV series. 1 month later, on December 20th, 2021, the first event of Marble Maniacs premiered on JMR's YouTube channel. 2 events solely credit Dion Baker as the event designer, not Yella, which that actually I think is accurate based on things we see later. Like, this is more of something that was spearheaded by Dion, and he kind of didn't want to listen to anyone else's feedback. Could you imagine that? We'll get into it. The tournament's release was marred by copyright issues with the sponsor, Spin-In Records, delays for nearly every video, lack of communication with the fans, a critical error in scoring the final event, and uninspiring set and event designs.
Okay, I think the events were cool.
I will say that I actually love the aesthetic, like the diving one, like the food stand. I actually think in terms of the environmental aspect, I don't know how much Dion had in regards to that, but the environmental aspect and vibe of a lot of these events, I actually did really love.
We loved all the events. We literally enjoyed every video. I don't think that discounts any of the other mistakes that you just listed, but I think the event design themselves are actually like a lot of fun. I actually wanted them to take that one funnel event and put it in Marble League because it was really exciting.
And this is evidence right here. Dion can do good things. There are ideas that Dion can come up with that are actually beneficial to the channel. But it's just that he doesn't work well with other people. The tournament was released. Did that part when a feedback thread was posted for the series and fans posted constructive criticism. Dion did not respond to any of it. Instead, Minos posted a lengthy response in which he apologized on behalf of JMR.
Pause. I'd like you to go to folder C, please. This is a conversation I had with Yella about Marble Maniacs, like just right before it released. For those who are listening, it says, I said, "Hi Yella, sorry it's been a little while. Hope you are doing well and that preparations for MX are coming along nicely." Yella responds, "The MX preparations are going slowly. The MX is Dion's project and only he can make up decisions and ideas."
Is that because Gel didn't want to, or because he just wasn't allowed to?
There's another piece of evidence I think that shows that he did try to provide feedback and was denied. I believe it's in this folder?
No, it's actually not, but it is in the conversation that I had with him.
Gotcha.
I mean, you see, like, in between that text that Dion was the sole event designer for 2 events. I think for the other 3, Yella may have helped. But just to receive that DM is like, it's Yella's channel. How is this happening? How is this happening?
That's a crazy message. I don't know. I think, well, I mean, I don't know. It does show that Dion can think creative things in his head, but that's not like the point of this episode. It's not, hey, we don't think Dion is good at making up marble events. It's, hey, we don't think Dion is good at managing a channel, and the people that are supposed to work for it and the people that are supposed to interact with it. Those are two different things, right?
See, and
Right,
then there were issues, and a feedback thread was posted, and Dion, who was largely recognized as the director of the tournament, did not respond to it. Didn't say anything. Minos did instead. Minos took accountability, and he did not have to. And in my opinion, he should not have. It should have been Dion.
Yeah, and again, I do want to re-preface this, even though it's repetitive, that Dion is not 100% bad. Like, this just shows that he can actually provide something of value to the channel if he just works with them. Like, if he is a team player and instead of trying to take ownership and control of everything. That's the main issue at hand here. It's not that Dion is a 100% bad person. It's just that he has some massive flaws that he just can't get over.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think we should move on to the subtitle fiasco, which you can cover too.
Yeah, all right, so if you've been listening to some recent episodes, you kind of know this story already, but we'll go over it as a summary.
Through pretty at length, so we probably just need to do there's a recent episode about the whole thing, so we can just cover that more high level.
Yeah, high level. So October 10th, 2023, in response to a thread with attached evidence detailing Dion's role in the subtitle fiasco with former JMR China community members, Dion denied influence or involvement. Specifically, he said, "You think I have influence in China? No, I haven't. It's stupid you blame someone without knowing any facts. This has nothing to do with me, but keep spreading conspiracies. Good luck." We showed evidence of him being in contact with the channel and asking for money and stuff. So he has been in contact. That's at least some level of influence. So, well, again, we have episode 164 to go there. There's episode 197 on terms, podcast big gets, big takes. There's so much. You can go there. November 16th, 2023, longtime JMR adjacent content creator Thesaurus Dinosaurus announced that his YouTube video detailing Dion's role in the subtitle fiasco received a copyright strike from JMR and was removed. Fans figured out that Sarutobi's video, which covered the same subject matter, was also removed. Sarutobi, for context for everybody, was one of the heads of the Chinese translation and subtitling team.
Also the manager who Dion messaged.
Yes.
In the past.
Which covered the same, was also removed, and Dino posted a subreddit thread to air out a public grievance. Social media fan accounts tweeted at JMR in support of Dino. Many of them are blocked by JMR's Twitter in response. Minos tried to unblock a lot of them, and then many of them got reblocked again. So, again, he's hiding criticism, refuses to take it.
Yeah.
Fans continued to express outrage, believing both videos were targeted and censored by Dion because they criticized his actions. To date, Dino's tweet about the copyright strike has received 40,000 views. His subreddit thread received 25,000 views, over 150 upvotes, and 75 comments. The next day, Minos inferred Dion was the individual responsible for removing both videos. There are several Discord messages that are in the document here.
I think
they're a bit long.
The most important one here, or I'll kind of paraphrase this. Minos said on November 17th, "Hey y'all, I try to keep up with the convo regarding Dion and the marble race. I would like everyone to know that an individual's opinion on a specific matter doesn't reflect the view of an entire team. We can focus on that individual, or we can focus on the bright side and keep making marble runs. If I were you as a fan, I would ignore such individuals. Only the individual can fix these issues. As a person or friend or colleague, I can do so much. Since it's beyond my ability, I focus on important things, meaning you all. As I say, I can't tame a maverick, but I clean its shit. Apologies for the language." In a follow-up comment on the subreddit, Minos then posted, "The problem with Dion is when somebody pulls the rope, he pulls back. not my way of doing things, and I've been quite vocal on these issues privately with him. I can't vouch for anyone but myself, but if that's not enough for the community, then there is only so much I can do. One of two things will happen. Either people will recycle past behaviors provoking him and then Dion proving critics right, or the fans stop for a moment to criticize him and then the storm will go down. Based on everything...
See, my thing is, I'm not a big fan of either of those options.
No,
I mean, like, that's not, those are not valid. Neither of them are useful options. It's not good to just not say anything until it goes away, and it's not good to like do the same thing because obviously that really. I don't like that. That's not really helpful. I know he's just trying to keep things from getting out of hand because that makes his job more annoying. But that's not like a useful way to go about it.
Yeah, it doesn't address the problem at hand. It just lets it continue to fester and continue, which...
Also, based on everything Minos has said, it all but confirms that Dion was responsible for the copyright strikes. He basically says, I don't know when another controversy with him will arise, implying that this one was stuff that he did. Ramen is also saying in the chat that the JMR Twitter to this day still only allows accounts they follow to reply, so almost no one can reply to their tweets. So they're still censoring fans even 3 weeks after the subtitle fiasco has supposedly been resolved. Clearly, it has not been resolved.
Yep. And now we're hitting the news, next segment. Previously on MSWP episode 94. So, if you're new here, we did an episode on episode 94 called Dion, where we originally covered Dion's destructive behavior behind the scenes, creating a toxic work environment and making it unsustainable for freelancers, staff members, and volunteers alike to continue working with JMR. I went so in depth. I researched and interviewed so many people. It's a very detailed deconstruction of the entire situation. But to give you an overview of what we talked about, while working with the channel in 2018, this has been I want to preface, this has been a contiguous issue since Dion got started in the channel, and it has not improved. If this was like really old drama where like he's grown, if he was grown, I would have been like, okay, yeah, leave it in the past, because it's stupid when people, go back to find like a joke you made on Twitter like a decade ago and call you out for it. It's like, but as we can see here, from multiple points throughout the years, his behavior has persisted and has not changed. He has not grown, which is why you need to call him out on it, because he will not improve and the situation will not get better if you don't do it. So anyways, while working on the channel in 2018, Orion Bierzewicki, I probably said your name wrong. I'll just call him by his username Hershey926, made all of the merch and controlled the Gear Bubble store. He also designed a majority of the logos that were featured on the merch. And Hershey didn't handle the merch store's financials. Yella and Dion did. He approached Dion multiple times asking for his cut of the merch sales, but Dion claimed that they were always waiting on or low on the money. Yella was also unaware of what the total revenue from the shop was. Dion had told Yella that it wasn't more than a few $100s, when Orion had heard from Dion that total revenue was over $11,000. Oh, not from Dion. I actually want to correct that. That is a mistake there. I should have caught. Orion is in contact with like the manufacturers of the merchandise, so he went to them to figure out how much they actually should have made, and then went back to Yella saying, "Hey, no, according to the manufacturer, this is how much money the merch has made."
Thanks for clarifying that.
No problem. On April 13th, 2021, after over 2 years of volunteering to advise... Oh, yeah, I guess we kind of... Like, the story in the end is, like, he told Yella, and then he then finally got paid his cut. So I guess Yella confronted Dion about it, and then he got his money, finally, which... Yeah, it is what it is. Quite a fiasco. Again, you can go get the whole in-depth story on episode 94. On April 13th, 2021, after over 2 years of volunteering to advise channel staff and assist with event checking, the former JMR committee announced their unanimous dissolution due to continued unresolved concerns. So, a more expansive summary of tasks that the former JMRC performed can be viewed here, and there's a link to it. Like, there's a big old document of, like, everything they've done, and that's also in episode 94. They have done so much for the channel. I cannot stress enough how vital to the success of JMR the JMRC was. They all did phenomenal work. I love all of you. Thank you so much. They were also greatly involved in planning upcoming tournaments such as Marbula 1 Season 1 and Marbula League 2020. There's a post in the folder of folk announcing our dissolution to Yella, and we aim to ease the transition by providing specific instructions and advice on the new community.
Which is
none of us
everything that's in this Facebook post.
Yep. None of us wanted to leave Yella in a bad place, so we agreed to dissolve while trying to keep things stable. Several former JMRC members provided individual reasons why the committee disbanded, many of which are mentioned on episode 94. On October 9th, 2023, folks said in a subreddit comment that Dion, Yella's brother, felt entitled to creative control of the channel and that the JMRC dissolved due to continued unresolved concerns about working with Dion. On April 14th, 2021, the day after the JMR committee unanimously dissolved, former JMRC president and JMR staff member Anton Weber, aka Melicus, announced on the JMR subreddit that he was resigning from his duties at JMR.
That was a wild time. That's when I knew things were serious, because I couldn't imagine that. I was always like, at that point, I was relatively connected with Mel, and I was like, dude, we on the way to MarbleCon 2025. You know, just all that was still alive at that point, and Mel was a big deal. Mel and me had talked a lot at that point, just because all the other stuff was going on with like me and all the different stuff in the Marvel world at that point. And like, I was like, this guy's gonna be here forever. This is it. This is the. When I thought of like the channel, I always thought of Yell and Mel. Like those are the two guys that ran the channel. I didn't know about this Dion stuff. I didn't understand, and then he just resigns, and I'm like, dude, what happened? I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be a completely different world from now on.
Yeah. And now this transition.
Sorry. I just want to highlight a few of what we've put in the folder. Just to summarize this post, we announced our dissolution to Yella before we announced it to Dion. We gave him advice of, first of all, we told him that like some members would stay in the group. Novawolf would still work as a graphics editor. Specs would still provide final track maps. And we suggested to him to start recruiting others ahead of Marble League 2021 and to pay them. I also said, we still believe in your channel and your career as the Marble Master. The channel can still continue to grow using the same strategies you did up to this point. Fans always love to see you respond to fan ideas. In the past year, you've worked hard to train and manage professional talent. You should make time to regularly check fan communities. If you see or are inspired by great ideas from fans, definitely fight to make those ideas happen, even if Dion or others disagree. As the owner and leader of JMR, the channel is your vision, and you must work with others wanting to achieve your dreams. Also, if you could click out of that. So the documents to the left show there's a Marble League 2020 planning document. This is something we worked on and then sent to Yella and continued to work on. Shot put became Newton's Cradle. Meteor climbing ended up not happening. To the left of that, the document to the left of that is, I think that's the Marbula 1 FAQ. I think we posted this on the subreddit or somewhere publicly. To the left of that, we have JMRC year in review, and this is like everything we did during our first year in 2019. To the left of that, I think we have the do we have the value?
No, this was back when Beta Wolves was still alive.
Beta Wolves is still alive.
Let's preface that she's not dead. She's just not involved in the community.
To the left of this document is a JMR like video checklist template. So this is what we worked off of when we did event checking for JMR before each video was released. So split up based on statistical accuracy and graphical grammar, commentary notes. That's an example of what we did from the Marble Rally races. So to say that we did nothing, we did quite a lot. Then if you go to the right, of that. Sorry, if you go to the rightmost graphic, this is the final dissolution statement that we posted at 4:38 p.m. on April 13th. If you go to the next the next post, this shows us working on like kind of a beta post. I created this in Canva. So this was at 1:42 p.m. You'll notice, however, continually mounting tensions and conflicts between the committee and a member of the JMR team, which then changed at 1:52 to between the committee and Dion, Yella's brother, have led to the committee to the unfortunate conclusion that their efforts in advising the channel are no longer effective or worthwhile, therefore, blah, blah, blah. Next, after that, this is what this was our final draft that got posted and upvoted. So just to show you,
interesting.
We were actively struggling with Dion.
Right.
Let's now talk about how others have. There's been a cycle of these issues throughout years. And the cycle folder also, it demonstrates all of these, just like a brief kind of progression of what happened. So if you click on that one, this is when I got invited to the JMR committee. Yeah, my real name is Matthew. This confirms, by the way, that Dion created a Facebook group for the JMRC, but Dion made Melikis the boss of it. So this was the first real day of the JMRC, February 10th, 2019. If you go to the next one, the next picture.
Yeah, the next one is Team Logos and Web Shop.
This is Dion announcing that they were ending their work with Hershey. JMR were ending their work with Hershey on February 12th, so just a couple days later. This is from Dion's old Reddit account, which is why it's deleted. If you go next, what Hershey said basically was, I made an offer to make the same as the current store manager was making. They rejected it and didn't counter offer. So that led to the end of JMR's work with Hershey. And to go back to the outline, Hershey first started working with JMR like as a part of the IMC. That's also when Mel started working much closer with JMR. Dion was not very involved with the IMC, and to be honest, it was disorganized in its own right. But following the end of MO 2018, the IMC went inactive. It was briefly revived in late 2018 with new members as the International Marble Sport Committee, and that's actually how I got started. Advised JMR until Hershey and JMR had their falling out in February 2019. Mel founded the JMR committee to continue advising JMR as the IMC once had. The thing we're getting at here is that since late 2017, fans has been volunteering their time and energy to work with the JMR, and most do so without ever being paid. So the former IMC, JMRC, and current JMA are all groups that have followed similar roles to advise the JMR team in improving their videos and to fulfill duties including event checking, ideas, graphics, and more, like advising, right? Fans volunteering with the channel have experienced this cycle of events occurring every time a controversy involving Dion surfaces. Something that Foucaulf kind of put together. We start off trying to ignore Dion's antics because he only pops up once in a while. A professional outside the family starts noticing internal drama. That professional and others helping with the channel feel like we need to explain he's just doing stuff irrelevant to the channel. Yell us to compromise with him on some idea after some deliberation we're not privy to, and we lose the motivation to keep going. We see an actual fight and dispute occur and feel we have to speak out. We notice this during everything that built up to the JMRC dissolution, and I would refer back to episode 94 for that. But today's episode will further detail and provide tangible evidence of that fallout. If you go to the next screenshot from April 12th, 2021, this shows that Malchus declaring the unanimous dissolution of the JMRC. Malchus, who was made the boss of the committee by Dion, declaring the dissolution, which I believe that proves the legitimacy of such statement. Then what we've witnessed in the past 2 months with JMR revoking the Billy operation rights and copyright striking fans' videos explaining the situation and blocking fans who have spoken out against what has been confirmed by multiple staff members, as Dion's doing, we've had 2 JMA members resign and release public statements, which are also in this folder. Next page. Next photo. Yeah. So this shows Emp's resignation. He says, the direction that this channel is taking is simply unsustainable for me to continue to be a part of. The effects that this community is suffering from due to certain individuals of higher ranking is inexcusable. Next. This is what Fire Marble put out. I don't want any hate directed to the rest of the JMA or Yella himself because they have no control. I have the utmost respect for my now ex-teammates in the JMA, and Yella is still the GOAT.
Yeah.
So it's just I can't sit by anymore and see these things happen, which that's really why I feel it's so important to come forward with all of this, even if it is just so much.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we've not actually hit the bad stuff.
No.
But we're about to hit it now.
Yeah, it gets worse.
That literally the title of the segment.
It gets worse. So, although it's difficult for outside fans to work with Dion, it's even harder for fellow staff members to work with Dion. Members of the former committee experienced this firsthand as the JMRC fell apart. Foucaulf, who was creating M1S2 graphics, was working on a very tight schedule with Yella to ensure all of the videos were released on time. Because this schedule requires cooperation from other members, he could no longer handle Dion alienating other JMRC members and threatening to dissolve the JMRC. This is why, though he planned to retire and train another graphics designer, he also volunteered to deliver JMRC's complaints. Foucaulf's work with the channel ended after Marble 1 Season 2. If you go to It Gets Worse, we're going to start to see. On December 5th, Foucaulf sent the above testimony to me. But we also have quotes from Malchus here. So if you could go to the one from December 6th. This is just a list of Mel's responsibilities from when he worked with JMR, and he had summarized these in a document, and I sourced them. I was like, is this good? And Mel was like, this is good.
Yeah, and like the reason why he put this document together was because he kept, like, Dion kept saying, like, what do you even do here? Like, constantly making him feel like he actually wasn't providing anything of value. And so he had to ask his friends, hey, like, is this true? And so, like, he put this document together. So basically, he can, like, send, like, hey, what do you do? Just post send. Here's what I do, Dion. This is what I do every day.
I mean, that's quite a bit. I mean, this is a lot right here. I'm reading. This list is. I'll read the list. By the way, let's read the list. So this is what Malchus alone did for the channel back in his day. Great guy, by the way. He came up with the boats, the rafts for the one event, wonderful stuff. Called me out in a lot of shit. He really did, but it's how we grow. All right, so we said, this is what he did. This is what this guy did. He said, I manage the community, plan campaigns for new series, provide graphical assets, and coordinate the posting of those. I plan community events when Dion doesn't disapprove them, create engagement and discussions, hang around with fans during and after events, collect feedback, manage the Patreon, ensure rewards are fulfilled, keep track of patron marbles, manage the Teespring store, analyze buyer behavior, adjust prices, coordinate sales, coordinate the creation of new assets with Teespring at the moment, M1 launch shirt and jerseys. I assist Gel with production of videos, lead the JMRC to support the channel with event checking and idea creation. I manage the YouTube uploads, decide on premiere times, finalize the title and description, make sure it's scheduled correctly, engage the fans during the premiere, make motion graphic assets for the videos. Like the intro for M1, by the way, that probably took fucking a lot of hours. Sorry to curse. That took many hours. That was really cool, what he did. I actually almost hired him for another job because of that work right there.
You're fucking right.
I manage the concept for making process for the series and ensure details are accurate. Consult Gel and Saksha, I don't know how to pronounce that, on management questions and ideas for the channel. Produced and manage audio assets, PR community management, plans publicity campaigns, JMR social presence, handle communications with patrons and marble choices, management of JMRC and the engineer that takes channel suggestions, Teespring store again, video production, building assets like the M1 starting grid. That one was pretty good. I think that starting grid was pretty nice, pretty helpful stuff. Produce graphics like all that M1 stuff. Regulate rules for the Marble Sports series. Coordinating lore under Project Canon. I guess when they still liked Marble Earth. To be published in the JMR blog. So I think that's quite a bit. I actually think that sounds like you're running the whole channel. That's what actually that sounds like. That sounds like you're almost doing as much as Yell At. That really is actually what that sounds like. But at least you're doing quite a bit. So this is the guy, by the way, that why did this? Oh my god, I'll have to clean that up in a second. This is the guy that stepped down. From all that, because the other guy also working on the channel told him that he didn't do any of those things. So I don't know. That's kind of ridiculous to me. I'll tell you what.
So Malik has provided a list of quotes to us expressing his feelings on the JMRC dissolution and his resignation. So I'm just going to read them. I asked him, "How did you feel in the months and weeks leading up to your resignation?" Mel responds, "It was pure frustration. The allegations against me deeply hurt me, and I couldn't understand how one could say such things about my involvement after more than 3 years that I gladly dedicated to JMR and the community. All while Liella encouraged me and showed nothing but thanks for my continued work. But what hurt me the most was how the JMRC members, myself included, were treated like enemies who didn't have the channel's best interests at heart. They did not deserve such hostility, especially not after all they have done for the channel." "How'd you feel in the immediate aftermath of the dissolution and your resignation?" I asked him. He said, "The immediate aftermath wasn't easy. I didn't make the decision of resigning lightly and give it a lot of thought. The whole committee resigned, and there was simply no reality for me at JMR without these wonderful people. JMR was a big part of my life, and I was in it with all of my heart. Adjusting to new circumstances took some time, but I managed. Concentrating on other things helped, and I knew that I needed some distance." I asked him, "What have you noticed while you've watched aspects of JMR significantly decrease since your resignation, such as their business presence, community engagement, and production quality?" Mel responds, "Watching JMR's decline of quality and reduction in regards to production, transparency, communication, and community work in general wasn't easy either. All these were areas that I strived for greatness in at all times. I dedicated a lot of my time to ensure these areas would operate without flaws, and the fans would thank JMR with interactions and monetary pledges, something that was held against me multiple times, often accompanied by that it could be done in less time by someone else. The neglect of their patrons in particular, who are among the kindest supporters and play a substantial role in enabling both brothers to pursue JMR full-time, was also disappointing to me. The discrepancy in priorities that ultimately led to the disbandment of the JMR committee and my resignation would become more apparent. One could say that the decreased income numbers and the stagnated growth of JMR's community YouTube channel would prove the value of dedicating genuine community work." I asked him, "Over 2 years after your resignation and as a fellow fan of JMR, how do you feel about everything now?" Mel said, "As a fellow fan and former community leader, I feel disappointed. I hold no grudge against JMR at all. What I'm most disappointed with is the lack of transparency and accountability. As I've said in a comment before, I know the community and that these folks can be forgiving if you just treat them with the respect that they deserve." And there are other comments in this folder from Mel showing public statements. Notably in the subreddit post, he said, From my years of experience of intense community work, I can assure you that these folks can be very understanding and forgiving. They're well aware that nobody's perfect, but they deserve better than this respect and honesty." And he also called out, he said, "But to see JMR and I would assume Dion blocking fans over valid criticism has got to be an all-time low. We're all well aware that this is not the general team's doing. We're not stupid. It's not up to you, meaning Minos and Jim, to own up to these mistakes. Whoever is responsible for this controversy needs to do that themselves. But since these controversies are nothing new and rather an all-repeating cycle, I think you can understand why so many fans are pessimistic about the situation. They feel like the community isn't valued at all. And then he also said, the JMRC and I did the same thing back in the day, fighting against Dion. And we all know how that ended. Bonus trivia, before us, Hershey also did the same.
I guess I'll follow up here to give you a break, Stynth.
Thank you.
Minos grew increasingly intolerant of Dion's actions, saying, "No one wants Dion's shit." The committee first discussed going on strike. When Dion contacted Minos after the committee dissolved 3 weeks later, Minos commented that Dion always tries to be seen as the fucking victim, quote unquote. I always try to use light language, but I'm just quoting him here. When controversies arise, Minos' role with JMR has expanded greatly. He now produces graphics and runs the Patreon in addition to handling fan engagement and composing. But we can imagine from Minos' recent comments on Discord and Reddit that his distaste for Dion hasn't gone away. So, if it's so hard to work with Dion, why can't Yella just fire him? Well, it gets much worse. Oh, I think Nova's ready to talk.
Yeah,
just,
I think
introduce me or
Nova...
something, because this is.
Oh yes.
But isn't that Matthew?
Oh no! Oh yeah, Dion does Well, first of all, Nova, thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate you providing your voice here. It's great.
Yeah, of course. It's really fun to be back on here again. For longtime listeners of this podcast, I was on episode 3, which was a while ago.
Shit.
a lot has happened during that time, and there's certainly a lot to talk
4
about.
years later.
I can't remember. I can't remember episode 3 JMR, episode 3 me, episode 3 WAF, episode 3 anything.
I wasn't there on
WAF was
episode
not
3.
there.
That's
it was
crazy.
myself and someone else. I think it was Dave. If you remember Dave.
Actually, yeah, that was unironically like Sea Shepherd merch, which I never understood what that meant. That was his Discord name. I don't know what Sea Shepherd merch is, but I'm glad he still likes it. This is Novawolf. He came on. I think I remember what we talked about, but it definitely wasn't this. And now now he's gonna talk to us, I guess, about his side of this in the it gets much worse area. I guess I don't know where we are in the outline.
Yeah. So I think a good place to start for me is when I reached the agreement with Yella to work for Marvel League 2021 to be a paid contractor to produce graphics for the series. We reached this agreement in early February of 2021, and it was my understanding at the time that, I was going to be working in this position with the support of the JMRC and all these other people who I could trust, that I could rely on. And obviously, based on what happened soon after, that's not what ended up happening. So about a month later in March, talks of dissolution start springing up in the committee. And then another month later in April, the committee disbands. This put me in a very tricky spot because I knew that I wasn't going anywhere because I had already reached this agreement with Yella to do the graphics and I already started working on them. And I still wanted to do the job. This was still something I was really looking forward to. But suddenly, this prospect of not having this committee as a support group to help me with all the things that I was doing was not a great feeling because I was certainly aware of everything that the committee was doing to support the channel. I had been part of the committee for, I think, about 6 months at this time. So when the committee dissolved, we were suddenly in this position where all this work that the committee was doing, where that was going to get delegated was kind of unclear. I mean, obviously, JMR Dion just wanted to try to rebuild the JMRC with a whole new group of people. But I was certainly aware of the fact that this was not going to be the same group that had been helping the channel for the past 2 years, and we couldn't just rely on these people to take on all of that work. So I think for about the first month after this happened, I continued working on all this stuff, and things are like going mostly okay. Like at this point, I think the relationship between myself and Dion is not severely tainted. Like I don't think I'd been one of the people who were in his crosshairs during this whole JMRC dissolution, largely because I knew that I was going to be sticking around. I didn't want to make myself out as like someone for him to target. But then in May, that changed because this was when the practice race video thumbnail debacle went down. So just to provide a little context for this conversation, this practice race video, this was the first time that my work as a graphics producer was being seen in one of the videos. Like I had been working on the graphics for about 3 months up to this point, making all the templates and like different assets that I knew we were going to need for the main league. And this was the first time that my work was actually being seen out there. So this video was a really big deal to me personally. And I think that certainly played into part of what ended up happening. So this video is released in the morning, and I come back to check on it later in the day, and I see that the thumbnail for the video has changed. And it's not a good thumbnail. It's not a good change. And at this point, I'm like, okay, what the heck? Like, whose idea was this? Was my initial thought. Like, who could have possibly thought this was a good thing to change? Because it doesn't look good. I think we can all agree it doesn't look good.
Yeah, no. It's not even a straight line. It's like curved. Like he did it with his like mouse instead of using this line tool.
Like genuinely, genuinely looks like something that I would have made in like 5th grade in Paint. Crude, but honestly, like that's
what it looks like.
Yeah, it just is. So I bring this up in the I believe this is the JMRC group chat because
Where's
I was
the
still
original
in it at the
thumbnail?
time.
Do we have the original?
I don't know. I don't have it saved anywhere.
Stynth had it somewhere. He might be able to provide it later. He had to dip for just a few minutes, so he'll be back in a bit.
We're gonna have to get that. I'm gonna have to see that.
Okay. Just rest assured, it is not this bad. The original thumbnail was fine. I think we talk about it. So I like bring this up and like point out all the specific reasons why I think this thumbnail is not good. And Yella responds saying that the thumbnail was made by Dion. He replaced the thumbnail because Dion said the original thumbnail was not good. And then Minos responds, and this is better. Dion, can you please change the thumbnail to the original because the current one is completely out of context. And he also said that, and he also acknowledged that people were getting negative comments on Reddit about the new thumbnail.
I think this is Cap 2, right?
No, that was Cap 1. Now we're into Cap
okay.
2. So Cap 2, Yella says he'll change the original thumbnail back, and then Dion finally comes in and says, all he has to say is, I'm celebrating my birthday. I don't understand why the thumb was not made before upload. Now it's problems again. That was his response.
What's the point there?
Yeah, not addressing any of the specific things that I had brought up. So I like try to get him to actually respond, saying, I do wish you a happy birthday, but that's not a good explanation for your actions. The old thumbnail did not receive any complaints at all. I thought it was pretty basic, but not necessarily bad. The one you created was responsible for all the negative comments. And although I can see some effort was put into it, it looks worse.
That's a very nice way to talk.
Yeah, because at this point, like I was, I know I kind of had to for him to even for there to be even a chance at like him taking the stuff that I said seriously. Although, as we'll see, that doesn't happen. So the next couple of caps, Yella is talking about a new practice race thumbnail that he ends up using. And we go to Cap 4. Dion says, I delete my Reddit, done with that negative shit. Minos responds saying, this does not solve any problems. And then...
Brendan, I think this is still Cap 3.
No, this is Cap 4 now.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah, Cap 3 is just talking about the new thumbnail.
Yeah.
That. And then Minos responds. Dion responds to him saying, I'm not worried about the thumbs, but there has to be a house style before upload. I'm just done with this shit and even thinking about stopping with making videos. Why should we invest so much when people are so negative? Making marble runs is maybe better. No salty complaining from people anymore. We make these videos for the world, for entertainment, not to get shit over and over again. And then Minos responds, but I'll just focus on my response because it's more pertinent, and that's in cap 5. So I respond to that comment saying, the negativity isn't directed at the channel, it's not directed at Yella, it's directed at you and you alone. The fans absolutely love JMR content and the entertainment it brings. Yella and the channel would be perfectly fine, except you have been acting in impulsive, irrational, and disrespectful ways to everyone else who worked so hard to create the content. Your actions then cause Yella to be highly stressed and the quality of content to drop. The problem lies not within the channel, but within you. If you want to leave JMR, go right ahead. At this point, it's probably one of the best things you can do for the channel. So this was the point where I started getting a lot more emotional about this, and there's a definite tone change, and unsurprisingly, Dion doesn't respond well to this.
Yeah, I applaud you for maintaining such a professional tone with him up to this point.
Yeah, I think this was the point where I realized that's not gonna work, and even though this probably sounds really bad, I gotta just say it at this point. So he responds saying, better stay respectful. You are talking on behalf, but don't know the facts. You say nothing and I don't like your disrespectful tone. Understand that ML and M1 is founded by me, and if I want to stop the series, I will. I don't want to hurt my brother, but if people are talking about things that are basically not true and keep doing that, I will stop. And that means M1 and ML will come to an end. I don't want to live in negativity because others believe in lies from some salty ex-members. The way they destroyed a lighthearted and positive movement is heartbreaking. And then, after some more back and forth with Minos, I respond saying, Dion, you have hurt your brother. I've seen it in several messages he sent me. He's stressed, concerned, and scared of what to do. You're also constantly overriding his plans and desires for running the channel. If you can prove the things you are saying, then people will believe you and respect you, yet you never prove anything you say. I think that's a really important thing to, stop and think about for a second, because it's true. Every single time Dion is coming out and, insisting that we're wrong or we don't know what we're talking about, there's never anything substantive to back it up. He's just he just writes off everything that we say as bad faith criticism, attempts at a character assassination, conspiracy theories. It's just but he never gives you any reason to believe the things that he's saying.
And he said on the record, that if I want to stop MO and M1, I will. He threatened to stop M1 and ML because he messed up making a thumbnail. That's it.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and stop this conversation here. If you guys want to come back to this when you talk about the worst part, I'll leave that for you guys. I just wanted to go through that conversation because this was the point at which the relation between myself and Dion was definitely tainted, and he definitely did not like me going forward. So I think about a week or two later, I got fed up with their attempt at trying to restart the JMRC, because this was, again, something that they were trying really hard to do after the JMRC was disbanded, was just trying to pull a bunch of people out from the community to replace them. And I had been very critical of that, pointing out all the issues. They weren't there was no, for better lack of word, quality control. They weren't vetting the people who they brought into this committee. They were just basically opening the floodgates, and anyone who wanted to join could and have tremendous control over what the channel was doing. And I don't think I need to elaborate on why that's such a point of concern, especially with what's come to light recently. Go listen to the last episode if you haven't already. These are the kinds of things that I was pointing out and saying, hey, this is problematic. You guys need to rethink what you're doing with this. And they just wouldn't listen. So eventually I reached this point where I said, I'm not supporting this. I'm leaving the JMRC, JMA. I don't know if the name had changed by this time, but I'm done being in the JMA. You guys, I'll leave that up to you to sort through however you're doing, because I don't want to be involved with it. And
fair enough.
that's the status quo for a couple weeks, but eventually it becomes pretty clear, and this is like now getting close to the point where ML21 production is underway and the videos are about to be released. It becomes apparent that I need to be in this group to be able to communicate with all the other people who are going to be helping with the videos. Like, this is the only point of communication that I have with all these people who have come in and are suddenly like going to be helping. So I reach out. I don't remember if I reached out. I probably reached out to Yella first, and he told me that Dion did not want me back in the JMA, that he was effectively banning me from it. So then I bring that up with him, and I say, and I think, I can't pull up the original message, but I think what I remember saying was something along the lines of, I know we had a very violent disagreement last month. I'm sorry for some of the more emotionally charged things that I said. I don't know if I said I'm sorry, but I definitely like took accountability that some of the things that I expressed were not as good as I could have. And I said, even though we're probably not going to agree on a lot of stuff, I think it's still best for the channel if we come up with a way to work together during the production of this series. So I would like the opportunity to try to repair that relations and allow me to work with the JMA. That's the idea that I was pitching to him. Again, I don't remember the exact wording, but it was something along those lines. And his response was not, he was not having it. He just said, I don't see any point to this. You're not a good person to work with, and I just don't want to. That was essentially all the substance of his response to that. So that left me in a pretty tough spot, and I think now is a good time to, and I think also this screen cap, this was provided to me by a JMA member who I was in communication with through Discord. Since I was banned from the JMA group, I ended up using Discord as a platform to communicate with a few of them that I needed to work with. And they posted this screen cap. I'm assuming this was from the JMA group. And
I don't know which one you're talking about.
This isn't going to be anywhere because I just remembered this existed and I just found it. But I'll just read it verbatim. So I don't know the context for this either, but I don't think it's really needed. So this is a comment by Dion in that group. Yella, 2020 was the year with John Oliver. It's not objective to take that as a measuring point. Also, Caden left the JMRC by himself and was complaining about a lot of things. Now he still does, but he is no member of the JMA. For this reason, I personally don't want to work with him. He is very talented, but his attitude brings chaos and despair. He is not constructive, and this JMA group now is. Caden has specific tasks and must stick with them. Caden being my real name, in case that wasn't established. And I think the main reason I wanted to bring that up is, first of all, it really illustrates like just how much Dion was not interested in working with me, and how much like disrespect he had towards me. And I mean, some of the things that he said is true. Like, yes, I left the JMA on my own terms, and yes, I was complaining about a lot of things, but I was doing that in an attempt to try to like improve the channel and point out some of the concerns that I had with the things that they were doing. Instead, he's making it seem like that I was just doing this all to like be dramatic and try to complicate things internally for them, which I wasn't trying to do. And I think this is also a good time to transition into what I was actually doing for the channel during Marble League 2021. Because as much as Dion liked to believe that I was causing chaos and despair with them internally, the work that I was doing that summer was responsible for preventing a lot of chaos and despair from happening. Because it was a lot. I don't know if I've ever really touched on like the full extent of what I was doing during that time, partially because like I don't want people to think that like to give me more credit for the production of the series, like to think that I was so important in that production. But the reality was that like I kind of was, and the reality was I ended up being saddled with a lot of the responsibilities that had been handled by the JMRC prior to their dissolution, because those things still needed to be done. Like results recording still needed to be done. Event checking still needed to be done. Like finding problems with the footage and making difficult calls with some of the decisions. Like those things all still needed to be done. And I was essentially the only one left to do a lot of that stuff. And there was a part of me who kind of just wanted to say, hey, look, I'm not doing this stuff because like we already agreed what I'm working for, what I'm being paid to do, and all this other stuff, you got to figure it out. Like there was a part of me who really wanted to do that, but I couldn't because I still wanted this series to be successful. And I recognized that if I like took that road, that was just going to end terribly for that what ended up being produced. So I ended up taking on a lot of responsibility. And also, when I wasn't able to do things completely on my own, finding other people to consult with and get their help. Like there were a few members of the JMA that I organized a Discord chat so they could help me go through some of the events and gather the data that would be used for the graphics production. The reality is just that I was doing a lot behind the scenes. And I think really what is illustrated here is Dion was just clearly not ever aware of the full extent of what I was doing. I genuinely believe he was not, because he would have had to have been more appreciative of if he was. Like, this series just does not happen without all the things that I was doing behind the scenes. It either ends up being much worse in a lot of ways, and much more difficult to produce, or it just doesn't happen at all. Yella was certainly quick to acknowledge that without the work that I was doing, they just wouldn't be able to produce the series.
To incite the idea that we were causing chaos when we were working with the channel is factually false, untrue.
Yeah, It is completely untrue.
Even after the JMRC disbanded and Nova was handling everything on his own.
Yeah, and that's
largely on his own, and with the JMA, right?
Yeah, and that's the only reason why that disaster didn't happen, because there were still people willing to pick up the pieces and try to make sure that things still ran smoothly enough to at least get through Marble League 2021, and then whatever happened after that point, that'd be up for them to figure out. So by the time that the series had started releasing videos, I was already pretty sure that I was going to be done after ML21, because it was just, as much as I love the graphics work and being involved in the production of the videos, it was just a terrible situation for myself to be in, and for everyone else too. Having this person who is on one hand like doing a lot of really important stuff to make everything work together, and at the same time like banned from all these communication groups and being allowed to like have their voice heard in certain things, was just not working for anyone. And I knew that these were not things that were going to improve going forward. I had already tried to fix things with Dion, and that clearly wasn't going to happen. So I had nothing to do but just decide that I was going to leave. And that's what I did. And beyond that point, I really didn't leave much behind. I just said, look, I appreciated the opportunity to work. I think it's pretty clear that you guys need to figure out a way to work without someone like me going forward. And they were understanding of that too. Like, I'm pretty sure from their perspective too, they were fully intent on not working with me after Marble League 2021 concluded. I think largely because like just the prospect of paying for a dedicated graphics person was just not going to be like part of their their finances going forward. I just don't think they could have done that the way they did with
Wait, so are you implying that Minos didn't get paid for doing MX and M1 graphics and so on and so forth?
Oh, no. I wouldn't imply that at all. I have heard some stuff about the way he's getting paid, and I don't remember exactly what it is, but I having this arrangement where like they were just paying someone thousands of dollars to produce graphics for them every series and just do that work. That wasn't going to happen anymore. I think there was already a little bit of stress that they were feeling with having to pay me. And just to be clear, like, I was not asking for like exorbitantly high rates. I was making myself available at a pretty low rate for graphics, partly because I had no experience before, so I didn't feel like I could ask too much for me. And also partially because I knew that if I asked for too much, it just wasn't going to happen. But yeah, I think I definitely decided midway through this series that I was just going to be done, because as much as I loved working for the channel and helping the channel, it just wasn't a good situation to be in for anyone involved. And I just wanted to be able to leave them to figure things out going forward.
Yeah.
That's
I appreciate
a
your
lot.
story, Nova.
Yeah, it's more than
Oh my God.
I was planning, but
I mean,
yeah.
sorry to hear all that. Sometimes I don't even know what to say. I know I'm supposed to, like, keep it moving with the show, but that's just so much. I didn't even know any of that story. That story alone is enough for me to, like, be like, wow, maybe there's something wrong with the JMR leaders. I mean, that's so much, man. I'm sorry that things, I mean, like, it doesn't even make any sense. Like, I don't even know, like, how to really respond to those decisions. But yeah, the graphics, we kind of know that by accident, because I remember there was a time where you were talking about how the graphics went downhill from a certain point, Waf, and we didn't know about the situation, but we had just kind of seen some change.
Oh yeah, no, I could tell.
So,
To Minos' credit, seems like he's improved a lot in his graphics work
Yeah.
since MX.
He has.
he's decent.
Yes,
It's
yes.
going all right. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, what else can be said besides what was said? That's just a pretty bad situation. I mean, we'll recap more on that later, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's another example of kind of not being able to work with someone, freaking out prematurely, not realizing how much your actions have an effect on everybody else and your presentation. I mean, like this, obvious stuff. It's like just different examples of the same thing at this point. You know what I mean? But I still think it's important to hear all of them, because now it's like when you take this whole drive that we have here, it's pretty clear you can't argue for Dion's side anymore. Like maybe with like back in the day when you only knew one or two things, you're like, all right, maybe it was just like some specific thing going on or whatever. So like, it's not all bad. But like when you see all this, you can't. What else can you do, right? So I don't know. It's just this kind of these dozens of examples continue to just show the same thing and lead us to the same conclusion, which we'll talk about soon.
Yeah, Nova, I do appreciate your story, but I don't want to kick you off the show or anything like that. But we have gone on almost 2 hours now, so you might want to get back to the outline structure.
No, absolutely.
Yes,
one final thing I'll say
Thank you,
before I
Nova.
go is I'm going to be releasing my own publication soon, where I talk a lot about the stuff that happened with me working for JMR, my thoughts my thoughts on the channel in much greater detail. That'll be released sometime around Christmas. So stay on the lookout for that, and that's where I'll talk about a lot of this stuff in depth. So,
and I'll try to make sure to put a link to that in our video description.
yeah, so there's something to look forward to. It'll be a lot, so be ready.
All right, thank you so much, Nova, and best of luck with that video.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Nova. You know I love you. Even if you're not Matthew.
No, we really appreciate it, Nova. Love you too. I know it's been so long, so I mean, it from both of our sides, it is like talking to two different people. You and me back then aren't even the same folk. So, speaking of folk, by the way, no, I'm just kidding. But we're not even the same people, so it's kind of crazy. But man, thanks for sharing that. We needed that. We need that in this episode. We need to keep bringing up all these examples. So let's get back to our outline and kind of move things towards the end. We're pretty solid at this point that Foucaulf is going to have his monologue sent in, right?
Right.
Yes.
Before we do that, I think we should just provide the context around why Dion's behind-the-scenes role expanded. Like, what changed in real life outside of all of the social media posts and internal drama? And what we noticed is after recording every event of Marble League 2020, Yella moved from where he lived in Nijmegen to Wervershoef. I might be mispronouncing some of that, but Nijmegen
I believe it's Nijmegen is the
Nijmegen. So that It's a city in the Netherlands that's right by the Germany border, and Wervershoef is kind of like Greater Amsterdam. So he moved to Wervershoef and rented studio space in, I can't pronounce that, but it's like Zwagzik. It's kind of, I assume it's in the same area. And this studio space started hosting tournaments with Marbella 1 Season 2 in November 2020. Dion started handling the rent, as he even said in a public comment, and the Bakers began to get more involved in business operations than they ever had before. It's worth mentioning that Dion had been fired from his job, this we know from internal
Wonder why.
he works in
but I mean, you could imagine this doesn't work in the, just to cut in, this doesn't work in the real world, guys. This is not an isolated like, oh, it's hard to run a YouTube channel but other job. No, this is just as bad in all other places. Like, you can't work basically any job and be like this. You can't even hold a cashier job like this.
He worked in mental health too, and he got fired from his job in mid 2020. Granted, this is around the pandemic too, right? So obviously, like, some global recession was happening, but Dion was also hospitalized sometime in 2020, and he noted after his hospitalization that he sees things more clearly. And then he tweeted...
there's evidence for that, Brendan. Bring it up on the screen.
He tweeted about quitting his job, about being hospitalized, and even tweeted about his divorce.
Where on the screen? Well, sorry.
That one right there, like
the
freedom.
He tweeted about his divorce, and his divorce, which was like March 2020. Just like under a week, by the way, after the comment video went viral, and the JMR was in this state where they were making news headlines, and they got the full sponsorship from John Oliver. Yella also used to work other jobs himself, and he lived independently, again, 2 hours away from his family in Wervershoef, and he had his marble museum in the Tanzahani shop in Nijmegen, as well as his studio in which he filmed indoor tournaments up to ML 2020. But when Yella moved back closer to home, or at home, I'm unsure which one, JMR eventually became much closer to a family business than Yella's marble runs. And while Dion amassed the responsibilities we detailed at the start of this video, he mismanaged his duties, leading to the controversies among fans that we've discussed. And yet, it gets even worse. And this is the worst part. As he's worked with JMR, Dion has built up a history of trying to manipulate Yella. This has made Yella not just a worse creator, but also someone who's lost confidence and joy in his creation. Yella's families also enabled Dion's abusive behavior for years. Every time Yella tries to stand up for himself, Dion complains to his family, who, as former staff members have witnessed, have built up a history of taking on Dion's side over Yella's. Former committee members, I'll add, have also witnesses as well. If you could go to the worst part folder, please.
Yeah,
and
this is where we get emotional.
Yeah, I'm feeling it. If you could go to March 9th, 2021, please. Sorry, it's the second picture.
Okay, yeah. It's easier when you just say that, yeah.
So for context, Yella made a separate Facebook group called the JMRC 2, or actually Mel made this group called JMRC 2.0. It was a separate Facebook group from which Dion was not in it. Everyone else was, and in fact they still are to this day. Minos is even still in the group. But Yella said something like, it's important not to abuse Dion's activity altogether. Dion also has done good things like supporting me with interviews, and he found a video editor to reduce my workload. Today, Dion appealed I'm abusing him via this JMRC group, which is not my intention, and Dion said that I never must do this again. It can even be an idea to disband this 2.0 group and continue using an old group with Dion. We must make good appointments with Dion to avoid further damage to our reputation and reduce stress on me. My father also agrees with this. We must still take action to protect our channel and to avoid that Dion will misuse it again. My plan now is still let Dion allow to post messages on social media, but we must check these messages first to avoid reputation damage. And Foucaulf responded below, basically saying, Dion refuses to take part in our discussions. He's angered by criticism, but thinks he can disrespect JMRC members. We want to communicate issues caused by Dion to you without worrying about his reactions, and it looks like you want to keep the group for that. The longer Dion's opinions are overruling those from fans, the more JMRC members will lose interest in the channel. The channel is always Yella's marble runs, and you always have the power to change direction, because this is your channel. You know the fans the best, and when you are in control, all of us will support you. A couple days later, we had an argument with Dion about the Yarble Yellers. So if you could go to that next post.
Yes, I will say I don't like the Yarble Yellers, so I don't mind them being not really in anything, but that's tangential to the point.
I understand that, but it was Yella's wish to have them included, and he posted about them, like, even a few months back, like January 9th, 2021. In a comment on the Indigo Stars Marbles post, which, by the way, I sent in like extra Blue Snowflake Indigo Stars Marbles personally to Yella so that he could use them in his stands. Another committee thing that we coordinated so that Marble sports fans could be happy. I said, I think it's worth noting that the fans who came up with the Yarble Yellers team and name were fans on social media. We noticed the interest in the concept earlier last year and decided to implement them into the world of JMR. As a creative director, which it's important that your opinion is formed by the fans, which, by the way, Dion said 5 days prior on the Hazers Twitter argument, not simply by your own conception. And Dion responded, I think I don't need to defend the decisions I make for my own channel. My own channel? If you scroll to the bottom of this document, you'll see our two non-negotiable conditions before we considered contributing again to the channel with the committee. And we did not... Our conditions were that Dion must not be allowed to access official social media, and we preferred that Melikis Anton would handle it while consulting with the full team, and that Dion could not hold the right to veto any ideas that both Yella and the committee were in agreement with. Otherwise, it's obvious Dion has a greater say than Yella, and this also prevents us from properly advising Yella as we are supposed to do. Us, as volunteers, taking our time and energy to try to support Yella. That is why that second point was there. The next point is us announcing that to Yella. The document after that, I mean, that's the same comment in the thread. Where Yella said, we are restructuring our management, but I will contact Redacted, which is his manager.
What is the 1% rule? That 1% of the fans are the most active fans? Like, what is the idea there?
Well, it's a hardcore, it's linking to like the hardcore fans that all of us are, right? You can click there for more info, like after the show. Then in the next, this is critical. The next screen cap, like right after this document, shows us informing Dion of our demands. And I'm just going to read the comment below, which Dion said, Fook, I don't know what this is, but this is not true, and the facts are totally otherwise. Remember, Yella has autism. The context can be different.
This is where I do want to say this, and I think I said this to Stynth when we were having dinner, and that is, so I think one of the questions that comes to mind, if you ask questions, would be like, why is it within all of this going on that like Gel's family would always take Dion's side? Like, why is this even happening? Like, why can't Gel just take control and be like, get the fuck out? Like, why can't that happen? And I think that we should remember. I actually don't know. I think Yella has some sort of autism. I don't know to what degree. I don't know. That's not my point. My point is that there is some sort of family dynamic based on who they all are. That is like, we don't really know what that is. Now, I'm not saying that makes any of Dion's choices good. I've already made that clear. That doesn't, right? But what I'm saying is we don't understand that dynamic. So when you wonder, why doesn't Jell just kick him out? Or why doesn't his parents just take Yella's side and just say, dude, you got to go. This is just not good. Like why would that group of people not respond the way everybody else on the planet is in regards to this information? And I think it's because there are things about that family dynamic that we probably don't understand, that are deep. Like, probably they would go as far back, of course, when they were like little children, and that can create a lot of problems. A family dynamic that has lasted a long time can sometimes cause some really irrational decisions from outside viewers, from outside perspectives. So I think it's just something to keep in mind. I'm not even saying that this particular comment is a great way to say what he's trying to say, but I'm thinking that that's just at least a side note worth considering when you're like, oh, well, why isn't it just fixed already? You know what I mean?
A week before the JMRC disbanded, there was a restructuring meeting. Dion left the meeting early. Yella removed Dion's access to all social media platforms except Twitter. Dion's the only person who has access to the Twitter account. His proposal was to resume the JMRC and continue in the group. Dion has no access to this group, but there's an option to add Dion back over time. In the comment below that, he says, "My father just called me, and the intent is to re-access Dion to social media ASAP, provided that he does nothing negative. The ban was to prevent that Dion does bad things in anger. The intention is to let Dion participate in the JMRC in a normal way, because Dion also does great things like catching good sponsors, bringing in good ideas, and contacting famous people." I just said below, the changes to your plan don't satisfy the non-negotiable demands that we put up.
But see, this is a good example of the point I'm just making. I mean, that doesn't really make any sense when you look at all the information. So there's something about that family dynamic is not it's not like normal. It's not normal to just let's look at all the information and make the best decision. There's like other stuff going on there. There has to be. I mean, that's the only way you get to this answer. That's the only way you get to this answer, especially this kind of ridiculous change, just immediate change. It's like, hey, we want to keep Dion out. We're going to be smart about this, and then it's like, no, let's just do the opposite thing now. So there's stuff going on there.
I'd like you to go next to the May 14th, 2021 post. 2021 5/14. So Yella came to us, and he was like, there's some controversy about the practice race. I'm not sure what we should do. And following some advice from former JMRC members, including Foucaulf, Yella removed Dion's manager status on YouTube and changed passwords. He did not make a post on the community site, but really what we wanted to do was not to destroy Dion's reputation, but to make it clear, for Yella to make it clear to fans that changes are being made. What Mino says below is absolutely critical. Waf, would you mind reading it?
Yes. So I'm going to try and put this over here so I'm not facing my mic in a weird way. Yella, you can have I'm sorry, I'm trying to scroll. There we go. Yella, you can have a nice team here, and you can have your brother messing up with every single partner and asset. It is up to you. I'm glad you understand the situation, but Dion is a pain in the ass. I'm really sorry to speak like that, but enough is enough for me. He never listens. He is threatening with ML and M1. I say let him do it. Let him remove himself from the channel by discontinuing ML and M1, and we will find other championships. Ideas never run out, but patience does. And if you ask me, I am very patient as a person, but Dion brings me to my limits. I don't want him to be honest. I want him to make free music for you. I want to make free music for you, not your brother. I want to watch your videos, your inspiration, not his. So like this whole article, this shows like Yella has tried to kick Dion out before. He's wanted him out since 2021, bare minimum.
Yes, this is direct evidence and proof of the bombshell allegation that was posted to BGBT. I when I said I could confirm it, I did, and now this is the proof. Yella wrote to us, critical situation, Dion has kicked me out of the original JMRC group. Please can someone check the group often and make screenshots for Dion's activity? We will continue here in this 2.0 group for further event checking. I will suspend all production until this conflict is resolved. Minos responds, for fuck's sake, this guy won't have a day off ruining everything? I will check, Yella. Yeah. Yella says, this is not good, and another disadvantage. It's midnight in USA. Minos said, we forwarded your message. They will see it as soon as possible. I texted Dion, and he told me he's going to tell your father to settle things. I tried to convince him to stop doing these things because he's hurting both you and the channel. Yella responds, my father went to me and we called Dion, and it came out that it was my own fault because the appointment was that I may never tell anything about negative to Dion. I only said that the thumbnail was not good.
This is the thumbnail situation for the practice race, and
Mino said, this is sad. It is not your fault. It is Dion's arrogance and impulsiveness. You can do it by yourself. You don't need anyone else, man. You already have those you need. In the next screenshot, we advised Yella to seek legal counsel. In Yella's comment below, he says, Dion denies everything about this conflict, including all the attitude you explained here, and then he blamed me that I don't meet all of the appointments Dion made about communication.
This is technically going back to what Nova was talking about, but like this is for context of what it was said. This makes me absolutely livid. So he says this back to Kate and here's Nova. Better stay respectful. You are talking on behalf, but don't know the facts. You know nothing, and I don't like your disrespectful tone. Understand that ML and M1 is founded by me, and if I want to stop the series, I will. I don't want to hurt my brother, but if people are talking about things that are basically not true and keep doing that, I will stop. And that means M1 and ML will come to an end. I don't want to live in negativity because others believe in lies from some salty ex-members. The way they destroy a lighthearted and positive movement is heartbreaking. I need to really point this out, how utterly it's so fucked up. Like, he is using the channel and his brother as a fucking weapon.
Yeah, that's not very good.
To put others in line, to threaten them with things that they care about, and then has the gall to say, I don't want to hurt my brother, when he's the one who's literally doing it there. And what's so absurd is Yella can see this. This is in a public chat room that Yella can see. Yella can read these things, and we're going to talk about the context blindness. Assume there's a post he made. We're going to talk about it. But it's very, but like, Yella see this, so his perception of his brother and like how he's like afraid of him and like the things he does, it's so valid because he's just saying it right there. This is abusive. This is so abusive. He's his brother. I as someone with 3 brothers myself, I can't imagine how anyone
that now.
It's just.
As my sister is on the autism spectrum herself, and I think I in a large part, this is like it sickens me to my stomach because I would never treat my sister the way that Dion treats Yella. Fucking never. She's an Oceanics fan, by the way.
Well, I mean, then okay. In that case, though,
no.
no. I'm just that's obviously
I
just a joke because
I love my sister so much, and
no.
I just can't imagine why you would weaponize and just abuse and leech off of your brother and hurt so many members of the community while you're doing it. I at some point just lose words. There's 2 DMs to which like the blue and gray text. They're not very...
Oh, shoot. Actually, I'm sorry. I forgot that the part of context blindness is in Nova's segment, so if we don't talk about it now, we might miss it. I want to read everything Dion said verbatim. This is one of the like he basically Nova said like Dion or Yella has come to me talking about like actually let me read that.
Brendan,
for him.
can you go to the top of this folder? Oh, sorry. The worst part.
Yeah, no.
Dion conversation.
Oh,
Cap
by the way,
8.
guys, we are at 2 hours and 20 minutes, and I
Yep.
have to go in 25. It's crazy
I'm
to
gonna-
imagine an episode this long. So let's. I know we're coming towards our final call to action, but let's make sure we read everything we want to read and continue with that.
Yep.
Just a little
All right,
word.
so let me get this all then. All right, Caden's like this is in response.
And
to
tell
like,
me what
the
cap
basic-
this is so I
Brendan,
can pull
it's
it up.
Cap 8.
Cap 8.
So, Caden says, Nova says to Dion, "You have hurt your brother. I've seen it in several messages he has sent me. He's stressed, concerned, and scared of what to do. You're also constantly overriding his plans and desires for running the channel. If you can prove the things you are saying, then people will believe you and respect you. Yet you never prove anything you say. Yella has proven his concerns to me many times, but he doesn't even need to, because I can see what he's telling the truth by what happens with the channel. If you really don't want to create marble races anymore, I understand, and I realize now we've read this, but I just want to know that's the message that this is in context to and what he's responding with. This is one of the problems. Yella has a form of autism, and it's complex. Nobody except my parents understand anything about his incapabilities. He is not always telling the truth, and sometimes he is incapable to deal with triggers and make up scenarios. It's one of the problems we must deal with as family. This is Yella and his autism. I'm working 7 days a week and do everything for him and our channel. How can you just claim that everything he says is the truth? It's not, and I often talk with my brother about this. He sometimes uses my name and not in a fair way. Only my father and my mother understand and explain to him that he must not overreact because he is hurting me and my reputation with that. That's where it started, and now I know he still makes this mistake. To give you information, this is out of context. Context blindness is one symptom of autism. Idiot savant. Okay, taking a break here. To explain what context blindness is, it's a symptom of autism where it makes it difficult for some people with autism to understand things like slang words or sarcasm. So whenever you say something sarcastically, they will take it literally. He's using this as an excuse to explain why anything he says about him is false. And now back to his statement. I never overrule him. We decide everything in a team. He experiences things differently. He doesn't communicate with the team, makes a decision, and gets frustrated and projects his frustration at me. That's because I'm his brother and a safe haven to express his anger. And I'm okay with that. I accept that and love my brother. Which I think that means like whenever he's been complaining and criticizing him for some of his actions, he just sees it as his autism and that it's not a legitimate complaint. And I think that's why he's been able to just justify to himself the way he treats his brother. It's so
Yeah, no, you got it. I think. Listen. I would recommend everybody make sure you read this particular cap. I like this cap a lot because for people who are just audio, you should read this one. I think this is really important. I think this is like really the crux of why they operate the way they do. Because I wanna just, when you read this, there's nothing in here that's making me feel better about Dion's actions. Because I think that Dion has his own set of problems, his own set of pride or whatever it is that makes him want to control everything and everything like that. But we should also remember that there is probably to some degree that Jel's autism is affecting the family dynamic. I'm not saying that Dion's doing good things. I never said that, just so we don't misconstrue. I'm saying that there is some aspect of that that's probably affecting the family dynamic that's been there since they were all like really young, which causes him to have this wrong attitude and wrong way of treating Jel in this manner, and then his wrong way of treating other people who are actually really trying to help and listen. So, I mean, I'm not saying that justifies any of his actions because he's not responding well. This is not the appropriate way to deal with someone or treat someone, especially if it's your brother, if they even do have autism that causes some sort of disability, some sort of interactional unawareness. I don't know to what degree. But I'm saying that there's probably some of that in the family, which is why that when the parents get involved, the parents also see Dion's side, because they're just looking at it from their family dynamic perspective. They're going to see, oh, what have we been used to since Jel and Dion were both like 5 years old? That. So it must be this. Now, I feel like we should keep that in mind because I think that's how it's gotten to this point. I don't know how much of this is true that he said. I'd like to think that not much of it is true as far as Jell like constantly lying and making things up and misrepresenting situations, just based on the way that he talks and the way that the channel operated for so long and the way that the JMRC members have interacted with Yella. It wouldn't seem like this, while this could have some effect in the family dynamic, what's said here in this capture is probably not true of how he runs the channel in most contexts. But I mean, it's probably why we're at this point. The reason this is scary is because there's this is really like the core of the whole thing, right? Of why this family dynamic is what it is. I don't know how you fix that. You can't really fix that, okay? You can't really get out of that because you're too far into that. I mean, how do you teach a family that's been with someone forever that they have to change their entire perspective and dynamic? Like, how does that happen? Right. So I don't know. I think that like, but we should again be aware of the fact that Dion's he's being very wrong in his decision making, and his attitudes are wrong, and his motivations are wrong. But this is happening in part due to some dynamic in the family that comes from probably whatever it was like for them earlier on when they were all growing up when Yella had autism. Does that make sense? Am I making sense with that?
No, I get you, and it makes sense. But like, I want to also call back. This is his response to Novo saying that that all the complaints about like how Yella feels about Dion must be context blindness. But we've seen from his other statements, and that we know that that's not the case. You like all of us here without context blindness can see it, and we can confirm that what Yella is saying is 100% the truth.
Yeah,
just to kind of finish up his statement, but all of our plans must be approved by team, also Yella's. Now that he lives with us again, I'm the scapegoat. I deal with that, but if people feed his context blindness by giving him the feeling that everything he says is the truth, things go wrong. I worked in psychiatry for 20 years, somehow, and have enough coping strategies to deal with this. But not if other people who don't even know him are enforcing Yella's out-of-context scenarios. I understand that you couldn't have known the real situation, but now you know a part, and I ask you to inform me, Dion Cars, my father, to know the facts about every decision. We work in a team, always did. I always try to keep my Socratic attitude, which is like
no,
wisdom,
it's a bunch of bullshit.
Philosophy.
That's what it is. Don't
ask questions instead of giving demands. A decision at JMR is never made by one man. We've seen him say that. I don't like the contrary before. It's all hokey. It's all bullshit.
I just want to close out this section because we are running low on time just by explaining the context of some other messages that I've included in this folder. My text messages with Yella, saying that Yella said Dion was considering to change the channel name to Dion's and Yella's Marble Runs. Yella said, according to his manager, that JMR is his company, despite that 50-50 kind of ownership role. In a discussion on June 15th, Yella reached out to us asking if we would want to rejoin the committee, and I basically said, if real forward progress can be made in nullifying Dion's role in the JMRC and reducing his role in management, I would be happy to discuss a potential return to the committee. The possibility of Dion restructuring the company to Dion and Yella's Marble Runs is scary, but is something that can be prevented if you assert control over your company. JMR isn't just a business, it's your vision and passion. We believe in them, we believe in you. In a comment below, Yella said, that's true. My manager called me today and he's really angry that Dion is taking over everything. Dion told to me, if I end collaborating with him, that Dion will kick me out of the company and then deleting my YouTube channel. And
I want to...
Yeah.
Okay. So to help people understand how you should feel about this, always put yourself in someone's shoes. Put yourself in the position of Yella and think about something that's really important to you. And imagine you have someone who has an absurd amount of control over what you do and then tells you to your face, if you kick me out, I will take this thing that you have put years of your love and passion into and erase it. That's so fucked.
That's
so
fucking disgusting.
fucked. Throughout this video, I've tried to figure out, give him excuses for why he would think certain ways. I can't imagine how anyone could come to this conclusion without being absurdly delusional. That you can't talk, especially he knows about context blindness. So regardless of whether or not even if he was trying to say that jokingly, regardless of what scenario, because we don't know the tone he said it in, it doesn't matter because he knows that Yella would take it seriously. That you can't.
That's true. That's a good point. There. You should know how to communicate with his brother at this point.
He supposedly, the man with 20 years of psychiatric experience and living with a person with autism, doesn't know how to actually treat someone with autism. Assuming that's a scenario, if he's not just legitimately saying, "I'll delete your channel."
The last message says that Yella is also not allowed to post anything about. This is regarding the subtitle fiasco. I'm not allowed to post anything about this on Reddit to avoid internal conflicts, and I cannot give any details about Dion's behavior right now, but I have good trust and contact with Minos. Yeah. Oh, and Nova's posted this message from Dion. So, where do we go from here? What's our next step? Our call to action, really, we believe change can only continue to happen if the community continues to be stronger than Dion's negativity. People should continue to speak out against Dion's actions and hold him accountable. And while Fook couldn't join us live today, although it does look like he's listening live, he wanted to share a prepared message with all of us to wrap up the show.
Hi, everyone. Thank you to WAF for inviting me back to the show, and I'm sorry I couldn't make it live in person. Thanks to Stynth for all the exhaustive evidence they have found. And before I start, I won't lie that I quit work for JMR 2 years ago, and since 2021, I haven't followed the channel that much. The way the channel rolls has become honestly quite predictable, even down to the drama involving Dion you guys invited me to talk about. But let me be unpredictable for a second. I'm sure there's a material in there where Dion accused me of launching a conspiracy, trying to pin him as a bad guy or whatever, and let's be honest, I've stopped trying to blame Dion as some villain who's responsible for the channel losing momentum, because that would require me to take him more seriously than anyone should. More than anything, Dion is someone I pity. I pity that he thinks Yella cannot grow as a person without his supervision, and I pity that he thinks the channel's fans aren't worth much beyond supplying memes for him and likes on social media posts. And in general, I pity the people you guys covered last week. People who think their lives are well spent trying to self-insert themselves into a show about marbles. But what is the right call to action? How do we maintain a genuinely positive community rather than something that only acts like one? I thought about this question a lot, and I keep coming back to the following. We need to recognize it takes a collective of people to build the world of Yella's marbles runs. The channel isn't excited just because of the marble action or because a few people behind the team want more attention. It's exciting because it was always a collaborative effort founded off of human creativity. Let me give you an example. The artists who helped shape JMR's current visual identity. One of them is Jack Ironhide, who made the posters. There's Pim Lurs, who made the series branding. Piney for their artful thumbnails a year or two back. And the artist community of dozens making fan work in the West and also in China. And of course, there's Tim Ritz for all the work, consistent logo work in the last 4 years, making the Marble League team logos and God knows what else. There's also the engineers who helped design key pieces of equipment. In 2018, someone named Jonathan Lee designed the ice hockey rink for the Winter ML. In 2019 was Dark Archon, who shipped over the first podium model. In 2020, 2021, 2022, there's Melikus and Emil, who is known as the practical engineer, who shaped the Marbula 1 starting gate. This is not a part of the production process I knew very well, so of course I'll miss someone. But thank you to all of those for your efforts. The people who work at Yellow set up the well-managed production team, JMRC and JMA people, of which I knew maybe about a dozen personally, checking event accuracy and staying cool during difficult ref calls. There are graphics designers who came after me, people like Nova and Minos, who updated the graphics to best communicate the action of marble sports. And there's assistant camera people over the years who helped Yellow set up the stage. I know among the JMR team members, Jim has done a lot of camera work. And let me keep going. There are other creators who recognize the artistry of JMR and contributed to it. That includes at least 2 commentators other than Greg. There's Leo El So, who did it in French, and Super Yehao Jun in Chinese. There's a growing community of custom competitions, dozens of creators, independent marble sports channels who are motivated by JMR to reach their full potential. There are YouTubers, big-time YouTubers who were fans, like Moist Critical and Carl Jacobs. Then there are celebrities who were fans, like when the comedian Hannibal Buress said he loved JMR, and what made it different was the execution. And then there's the super fans that make this feel like a real sport. The shows that went in depth beyond the videos. I'm going to give a shout out here, Dan, Marble Report. You're still the best who have ever done it. The people who set up community fantasy brackets. There are hosts and pundits. This is shouting out Term, Dino, Madman, certainly others I forgot. Shout out people like the Kumos who reinvented the JMR meme format. And then there are analysts, lore keepers, translators, JMR wiki archivists, statisticians. What does JMR mean to me? What does saving JMR mean to me? It means recognition and screen time for all these people I mentioned. I'm not saying create entire video series just applauding these people, but there's talent here beyond the so-called small circle that the JMR team seem to have collapsed into. Why can't we have videos showcasing their contributions on a channel if we're going to have Dion live blogging about his life? Why can't we have occasional fans curating social media feeds? I'm not saying that these contributors should make up a bulk of the content on the channel, but recognizing them is a big part of making the entire channel feel alive as well. Then going to the future, we're going to continue sharing and celebrating those who contribute to Yellow's vision. Honestly, one of the issues with JMR is that not enough people get credit. If people come to great events and part of JMR team, like Minos is a great idea, other members have a good idea, even Dion has a good event idea. I'm sure he had 1 or 2 before. Why can't we credit them? Why can't we give them a round of applause among the fans? And also let them be able to take in constructive feedback if they could. These small steps, small recognitions add up. Over all these years, JMR has had a history of getting what they want from a creator and then not bothering to maintain those relationships. Add that to JMR jealously guarding its brands or its ideas, and the channel flounders. The channel thrives, it flourishes when there's this exchange of ideas, when new fans are motivated to make the world behind the videos feel more alive, and the production team feeds off of their energy. Because it's not just production values that make the channel feels real, like real sports. It's that people are together and sharing in the values that the best sports should embody. And what was inspiring about Yellow's channel to me wasn't anything tied to his family. What I wanted to say for a while was that I love JMR because no matter his autism diagnosis, Yellow made it as an independent creator. The narrative behind JMR is just as much about all the artists and creatives Yellow was able to meet and people who work together to achieve a new vision. JMR cannot stop being about human creativity because the community won't let it happen. I really hope anyone who's listening to this, go look back at the fans in the past. There's plenty of the information archived on the subreddit and the fandom wiki. But really, let's look to the future. Save JMR by celebrating the joy and creativity of marble sports lovers, no matter their creed, both today and tomorrow.
So yeah, that's basically where we're going to end then. We're going to let that call to action play. Listen closely to it. For those in the recording, for those not, again, I'm going to post it so you can hear. I might actually just post it right now and listen to it and think about it. Before that, I'll just throw kind of my thoughts in there. There's a kind of a couple, just the general thoughts. So a couple of things I think about. Number one, it's as far as like what to do, right? Number one is like thinking about what it is about JMR that was so good before it wasn't. And I think we all have talked about this before, that it is about that community, that access, that's freedom you have in the community to kind of basically do whatever you want in the freedom of the marble sports world. That's kind of like, where the whole Marble Earth stuff came out of, and the fantasy leagues and all that kind of role play and all that stuff. That's the fun part, when you get to do that, and then you get to tell the channel owner ideas, and then some of those ideas make it, and all the community's just voting and thinking of new things and working together, and then they make a wonderful thing. Like, that's the best part about it. So not having that is bad. Not having that literally makes this almost not worth it. And for some people, it's made it definitely not worth it. So that has to come back. That's what fixed looks like. That coming back. Yeah, it probably means getting rid of Dion. I don't know necessarily how that happens. But for you individually, in the meantime, you can, number one, if you really love JMR and you're very loyal to JMR specifically, then you can try to really continue in whatever way you can, keeping the community with the people around the channel, but still kind of differentiating between the community you're making around this channel and Dion, and how he's not doing that. So that might be hard, and you might feel like you're supporting and not supporting something at the same time, but we're kind of in that weird phase. But you got to think about that, because you got to make some sort of statement in that regard if you want to do something. And then unfortunately at that point, it's just kind of hope that something actually changes, since you can't go over to Dion's house and just kind of, I don't know, smash his computer or whatever the thing is. You can't do anything about that, right?
No, in no way should we condone violence, physical violence against Dion. Absolutely not.
Of course not. Of course not. The other thing is that,
or should we allow? We would say that we do condone it. We condemn it. Sorry, words are tough right now.
We don't condone violence. We condemn violence. I think we got that.
There you go. That's
very
the right
careful
way.
about that. But the other thing you can do, and this is tougher to think about, but it's true, especially if you're not super overly loyal to simply the name JMR, and you're more loyal to the fact that there's a community built around marble sports, and that is consider other marble sports. I mean, obviously, there's not really many options right now, but if you really want to build that community, and because of the existence of Dion, the only chance long term may be to try to build that more genuine community under a different name. Because and I'm separating the two things, because I think you can still be loyal to JMR and wait it out and continue to fight for it and be in that community, and at the same time seek another marble sports or community or something similar that also is a lot more open to like, fan interaction, and allows you to really build that thing that it started as a long time ago. Maybe Pesky's Marble Invites, as that continues to increase over time, and I think she's coming on next week. So like that's those are just 2 points out there to think about. I can think of a couple other marble sports ideas that are actually, some other people are starting soon, so they sound like they're going to be pretty good. I mean, I'm not saying go to them. I'm just saying you got to keep that in mind based on what you want. And kind of figure out where you want to be in that. I think it's really hard because you kind of individually, you can't go make the change. You just kind of hope it happens. But yeah, I'd say that's all I really got on that. If there's nothing left from WAF or Stynth, then we'll go to the monologue to end the show. If you guys have anything to say it now.
I would just say that you can choose how you'd like to engage with JMR, knowing all of this information going forward. But the important thing is that we all find ways to be stronger than Dion's negativity, and to uplift ourselves and uplift our creators, our fellow creators. I'm not gonna steal from Fuchs' words, but yeah, I also need to, like, I'm not going to be saying anything going forward. You can strike this from, but I need to get going for work, so I'm going to end my audio now. Thank you all for having me.
Thank you, Stynth. Thank you very much. Hey everyone, Wolf from the future here. I felt like I needed to re-record my ending segment because everything was very chaotic, people had to leave early, and emotions were high, so I don't think we ended it very coherently. So I wanted to do that now. In just a little over 24 hours, the fans in our server have gone through quite a bit. There's been a lot of grief and sadness, as well as hopelessness, feeling like they just can't do anything. And I knew that was going to be the case. And I'm very sorry that I had to put you all through that. But I couldn't just stand by and do nothing when I saw what was going on behind the scenes. When you see such injustice, you have to do something about it. I think it's very important that after watching this, or listening to it, that you take some time to reflect and really process everything you're feeling about this. This is an immense amount of information to be hit with all at once. Like, for me, I only learned the full story over the course of the last 3 days, that last section. I am still kind of sitting with it myself. And I think it's important that you really take time for yourself, whether it be several hours, maybe even a day or multiple days, to really actually sit and let your emotions settle and your mind to settle. Only then will you be able to fully face what is before us and to make the right calls on how you want to proceed. I did stress originally about trying to have some sort of concrete call to action for the audience, but folk did point this out to me, and it's that this episode doesn't need to have all the answers, and that's so true. At the end of the day, this episode was not created to solve the problems of the community, merely to bring them to light. I served as the mouthpiece and the platform for these people to come forward with everything that they've seen, to let you know what has been going on. And now that you have all the information, we as a community can decide how to move forward. Some fans are considering a boycott, others are trying to get JMR members to go on strike. There are a lot of ways that we can proceed. What's important, though, is that we all approach it together as one. The fact of the matter is that the casual community is very separate from us. The fans on Discord, Reddit, and Twitter, they make up a very small fraction of the fan base. Until we are able to break through and make it to the casual fan base on YouTube, it's going to be very hard for us to do anything. And the best way to do that is through YouTube itself. By watching this video, liking it, commenting it, but most of all, sharing it with people. The chances that this information will make it into not just the casual fan base, but other people as well who will then come in to flood the YouTube comments with questions about what the heck is going on. The moment that happens, that's when we'll actually have enough force to really bring the community in its majority together under one action. And when we do that, that's when we can enact change. Again, I want to stress that this episode is not meant to give you that course of action. It is merely to call the community to action, to come together to act under one voice and one desire. Some good people, unfortunately, may be hurt by this. But sometimes, change can't happen without it. It sucks. This whole situation really, really sucks. We have some very dark days ahead. But I know that we can make it through together. All I ask is that you please never stop rolling on, Marble sports fans. For JMR, for Yella.